Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. You can give us a call, 888-638-4876. How you doing today, DB?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing all right.
It's funny when I go back to retweet that stuff that's in the stream. It shows what I'm doing, but I'm actually here real time.
Yeah, it's a little strange.
It is weird. It's the first time I've done it this soon.
I know you're on top of it today. I
well,
like it.
I mean, not really. I just didn't want to hear you say kind of like low-key do that thing where you lean in and you go, "Did you retweet the stream?"
Hey, bud, can you retweet the screen
Did you retweet? Did you retweet? Hey, full disclosure, and I'm not making one iota of this up.
Yeah,
117 to 4:30. Your boy was wide awake.
Yeah,
wide awake. I'm so mad at myself. I don't know what. I don't even recognize what I'm doing.
Dude, you've been doing this like all week.
Yeah,
What's going on, man?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
I mean, you don't sleep well normally, right?
I know, but this is
above and beyond.
This is exceptionally poor.
Yeah.
I saw a ridiculous stat last night.
Yeah.
You want to know one of the crazier stats going right now currently in sports?
What's that?
By the way, take Casper Ruud this morning.
Yeah, we got Ruud versus Zverev in the French Open semis, and my guy DB's all over Ruud.
Yep.
Even though Zeverev's been cooking a little bit.
Take Barrett, Bo, and
Casper.
Yes.
Barrett, Bo, Tom, and Casper. I didn't know he was part of the family.
So the Yankees have played 64 games.
Okay.
They have the most wins in all of baseball.
What that, like 44?
At 45.
Okay.
Your Phillies have 44.
That's pretty good.
Would you like to take a guess? And in how many of those 64 games the Yankee starter has gone 4 innings?
Oh, that's a way lower number than I thought you were going to say.
In how many of the 64 games has the starter gone at least 4 innings?
Well, because of how you framed this, I know it's going to be lower than I'm expecting. Because off the bat, I would have said like 50. Like that, and I know that's not right now. Otherwise, you wouldn't be bringing this up. Let's say half. Let's say 32.
How about times 2?
They've gone all 4?
All 64 games.
Okay.
The starting pitcher has gone 4 innings.
That is remarkable.
That is incredible.
It's remarkable in the opposite way I was expecting it to be remarkable, because I don't like that pitching staff that much.
I just said day before yesterday.
Yeah.
Can their staff hold up?
Yeah. That's incredible.
Dude, Carlos Rodon is 8-2.
Yeah.
Do you know what year it is?
2024, the year of our Lord.
Yeah. Do you know how many times a laser or a needle has touched his arm significantly in Major League Baseball?
Several.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, what is going on? I couldn't believe.
That's unreal.
I couldn't believe it.
That's unbelievable.
I mean, meanwhile, Walker Buehler acts like he's on the bump at 46-6 playing softball.
Walker?
Yeah. Dude.
Listen,
when he gets touched, it leaves.
Oh, in a hurry.
Yeah.
Well,
they finally got off the schneid
expeditiously.
They couldn't. They were getting handled by the De La Cruz clan between Cincy and Pittsburgh.
Well, it's just the Cruz clan. Only one of them's a De La.
Yeah, that's right.
The other one's a O'Neill.
Whatever. I mean,
I love my cruises.
You get the cruise thing.
I love my cruises.
Do you?
Yeah.
That's kind of overrated.
I just
small rooms.
You know what it is?
Being out in the middle of the ocean.
Yeah. No, not those kind of cruises. God, no, never.
Not Chevy Cruise?
Not in a million years.
What's Chevy Cruise?
It's like a compact sedan. They're little.
Oh yeah.
I'm not interested in that.
Yeah.
I need a bigger car than that.
Like your cobalt blue?
Yeah, it's probably a little small for me too. I have a hard time. I drove like a car I don't know, it was probably a couple months ago. And I had a really hard.
I drove my mom's car last week to take her.
I don't like being that low to the ground.
She had a couple of appointments. It was difficult.
Yeah, I don't like being that low to the ground.
It's really, really difficult.
I have a hard time going to
kidding me?
Smaller SUVs now. It's tough.
I told you what the odometer said, right? 2603.
Yeah.
26,032 miles on a 2014 vehicle.
That's unbelievable.
It's incredible.
She basically just drives like 1,700 miles.
Yeah, but then when I backed it out of the garage and we were getting ready to leave, like the music was all loud. I was like, "Well, are you partying in here?" She's like, "I like to enjoy my music in my car, thank you."
All right. What's she gonna do for the Belmont this weekend? She got anybody she likes?
I don't know. I didn't talk to her. She sent a message. She sent a group text about Zoe's birthday present, but I didn't. I don't know why I didn't respond. I probably should have and been a good son. But as you know in the movie, Macaulay Culkin was not a good son. Did you ever see that? Don't bother if you didn't.
I did not.
Shane, what's the other little childhood star that was about the same? He's famous too. That was in The Good Son.
I haven't
the little dude with brown hair.
Yeah.
He's got a weird name, but Google
The Good Son.
Yeah, pull an Al Gore. Figure
use
out
the
the internet. Yep, and do The Good Son. And who was the other little famous
1993 film? Looks like a horror film.
Nah, Macaulay Culkin was a creeper. Like, he was not a good kid. I mean,
he's got the exact same face that he makes in every Elijah Wood.
Yes, yeah, that's the other kid. Shane, he's famous, right?
Yes, he's very famous. He's Frodo Baggins.
Frodo Baggins. Oh, yeah, that's my show.
Yeah, he's
The
Frodo.
Hobbit.
Yeah. Well, Lord of the Rings. Hobbit's the different guy.
But he is the Hobbit.
He is a Hobbit.
He's the Hobbit.
He's actually not the Hobbit.
I'm not here for your technicalities.
But he is the Hobbit.
No, he's not. Bilbo is the Hobbit. Like,
yeah, Baggins.
The Hobbit in The Hobbit is Bilbo.
Yeah.
I mean, that mantle was passed, wasn't it?
Who?
No, the book and movie The Hobbit is about Bilbo.
The Mandolin Range? A sad song. Listen to the Mandolin Range. Isn't that what it is?
I don't.
Oh, I see.
Or is that the one that had Bubba Fett in it before he was Jango Fett? Son.
The Mandalorian?
Yes.
Bubba.
Wait, what's the name of the song?
I don't know what song.
Do you know what song I'm talking about?
Mandolin Rain.
Yeah. No, I think it's Range. Is it Range or Rain?
It's Rain.
Where's Kim when I need her?
Purple Rain.
Stop it. I'm trying to focus. Is it Mandolin Rain?
Sorry.
God, I can't stand you. I hate when I have to type myself.
What did I even? I don't even recognize what
it is. Mandolin Rain.
Thank you. And it's Bruce Hornsby in the Range.
Yes.
That's where I was thinking Range.
Who's Bruce?
Suitor.
Relief pitcher.
Yeah, formerly a starter.
Bruce Chen.
Hey, I thought of you yesterday. How about this? How you come up every day in my life. And it wasn't just because I was watching you try to kick the ball 365 yards.
I actually did boot that thing.
Knowing that thing is not going to travel that far. So he comes up all the time on this show because he's constantly hurt. Do you know who?
Byron Buxton.
Yes.
Yeah.
What is it about Byron Buxton? And I'm going to tell you where Tim's probably on line one getting ready to call and wag his finger at you.
Steroids.
No, why would Tim care about steroids?
Well, I don't know. I don't know. It's the other thing.
Byron Buxton in high school.
Okay. Oh, did he hit like 600? Is that where you?
No, but a lot of guys did.
Yeah.
Byron Buxton, his senior year.
Okay.
Hit 513, 60 hits, 17 doubles, 38 stolen bags. Would you like to guess what Byron Buxton's record was on the bump?
Ooh, interesting. I'm gonna go with.
I'll just tell you,
10-1.
Would you knock it off?
What?
He was 10-1.
Okay.
He was 10-1.
Yeah. I was just trying to do like math and like how long.
Shut up! You ruined it. He's not supposed to even know. With a 1.90 ERA.
I would have guessed high. I would have guessed lower on the ERA.
It's
like I get it's a good number, but like if you know.
High school.
You're Byron Buxton. You're a senior in high school.
Clayton Kershaw didn't lose a game.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
he had an 0.74 ERA.
That's what I was thinking.
Byron Buxton. Byron Buxton.
Yeah, he's really talented. He just
guess what? He probably could have been a reliever in college.
Yeah, but instead
Smart-ass.
He took money. You want to use a guy that was a number on?
No, there were a lot. There were a lot of those guys.
You want me to use a guy that's a number?
No. I'm not kidding you, and I'm not here to like push your buttons, but I am
a little.
But
I mean, yeah.
A lot of these guys, like Bryce, like a lot of these guys that were way good in high school, they all pitched,
and they all didn't go to college.
That's not the point.
No, that
right?
is the point.
No, it's not.
No, to me, that 100% was the point.
No. Okay.
I'm not the guys that he's talking about, the guys that you can just find and have walk on.
It's not
and
true.
No, yes.
It's not true.
The guys that you can just find.
I went back. I'm telling you, go back and listen to the call.
He literally said walk on.
I act outside of the. No, he said you could. Like he's like it wouldn't cost you anything. Like,
and that's incorrect.
You gotta
that's incorrect.
Listen,
you're giving me examples of guys that didn't go to college because they're going to the pros.
No, I'm not. No. I gave you. Okay, yes and no. What I'm saying is, I think he was way more right than he was wrong, because a lot of guys that get to the collegiate level that are really good have at one point in time pitched. And he's saying, he wasn't saying that it was easy to do. What he was saying is it's a mentality that you have to be forward thinking once you get these guys in college, considering back end pitching is so bad. He's basically promoting a solution to what's going on in college baseball as we see it. Not that it's easy or you just snap your fingers and it happens. It's like he's basically talking about utilize all your resources if you don't have a ton of money to spend in the sport. I think I think that was the gist of what he was saying. Now
that's fine.
He was very, very. I got crushed in that call too. By the way,
that's fine.
Did you realize that
those guys are not free?
He took so many shots.
That's all I'm saying. Those guys are not free.
Yeah, well,
that's my point. Is like, yeah, I know those guys exist. Like, yes, those guys exist. Obviously,
was it Mandalorian or Mandolin?
Mandalorian.
No, the song.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what that song is.
No, you don't know your Finches. You don't know your Bruce Hornsby and the Rain song.
Correct. That's accurate. I don't.
Tim Finch.
Those
Sid
are
Finch. Eddie Fitch. Name me one NBA team that
Eddie Bauer
that Fitch coached for.
Eddie Fitch. New York Knicks.
I want to say the Nets.
Who was?
But he coached in like 55. He coached 55 different teams.
Who was the?
I just like random trivia. Give me one. Give me a random trivia.
Off the top of my head.
Don't you follow a dude that asks trivia every day?
I do, but I don't memorize them to ask you. I bring them up on videos, and I'm like, here you go, bud.
Okay, maybe that's why I run out of bandwidth.
Yeah,
where I can't.
You don't just dump anything out.
I just melt down. I just like a bad computer.
So you're sending me TikToks at 3:00 in the morning.
What time was that?
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
That might have been later than that.
It didn't wake me up. I just saw it and I was like, oh God, he didn't sleep.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I have to go back and look at that. Did I do that?
You sent me a TikTok. I don't know what time it was. It was before I woke up, and I wake up.
Oh, yeah, 4:01. My bad.
That's all right. It didn't wake me up. I just saw the time, and I was like, oh, God.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it was a great TikTok, though. It wasn't.
Which one was the? It was the.
Thanks for. You're right. You don't commit anything to memory, do you?
Well,
I feel like it was the Curry. It was the Curry KD one.
Yeah.
Yeah. It took me a minute. See,
it wasn't Curry KD. It was Rasheed Wallace and Draymond Green going back and forth about how 04 Pistons would beat the 2017 Warriors.
04 Pistons, like the Warriors could just not go down to the other side of the floor, and the 04 Pistons couldn't beat the 17 Warriors.
It's a classic back and forth.
It's a classic old dudes don't understand what's happening in the game.
It just happened to be about your Pistons or your Warriors.
They would have gotten their heads beat in. He took Chauncey over Curry. And
then you took Curry over KD. 100%. Let's not laugh.
100%. No, okay, but then he took Tayshaun over KD.
Yeah, he was capping.
Nutso. Get out of here.
Well, that's how I feel about you saying you take Curry over KD.
At least Curry and KD are in the same neighborhood of historic greatness.
It's still ludicrous.
No.
Yeah.
That's Chris Bridges.
That's Luda's real name?
I think so.
It's pretty good.
I have to check now.
No, it's fine. I mean,
yeah, it's ludicrous.
You don't want to Google anything I want you to Google.
It's because I don't even know what I'm supposed to Google. I'm supposed to Google, is the song called The Mandalorian? No, that's not the name of the
song. So don't question. As if we didn't get off to a... I just feel like this is how the opening segments are going to go. I do.
Us just fighting each other.
Do you want to get out the lineup before we actually get into sports?
Yeah, I think I'm trying to find it. There we go.
What do you mean?
We've got Anthony.
Where is it?
I was just trying to find the graphic. It's easier sometimes.
We're gonna do this thing again. We're gonna keep
Well,
this thing
because on the
rolling.
rundown, it's all spread out.
That's is that Patty
Yeah, that was Patty Mahomes.
Mahomes?
No, I think it's Mahomes.
Phonics, man.
Oh,
Phonics.
you hooked on him?
I can read a little bit. I
Like-
can't see, but I can read.
Like Blue Suede hooked on that feeling?
Blue Suede. Elvis Presley?
No. That's Blue Suede shoes.
What are you talking about?
Blue Suede is the name of the band that sung Hooked on a Feeling.
Sing the song.
I'm hooked on a feeling
Oh,
I'm
that's
high
what
on
people play
believing.
like it.
and you're in love
Oh,
with me.
yeah.
It's from Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, I ain't listening to that.
It seems right up your alley.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Coming up.
right out there with the electric slide.
Yeah, right up there with Curry being better than KD. Coming up on the show today, we've got Anthony
Speaking of ludicrous.
we've
That's
got-
I'm just every time you say something ridiculous, I'm just gonna be like, man, that's Chris Bridges. Because every time I think somebody's not telling the truth, I call him Tim Johnson. Because if you call somebody the L word, that's pretty harsh. And Tim Johnson lost his job as a manager for Lions, so I just say you're Tim Johnsoning. That's pretty Chris Bridges. At no point,
Nope.
I'm not even gonna get into it.
Nope.
Because you're gonna die on a very wilty bad. It's not even a hill. It's more like a speed. You're gonna die on that speed bump.
yeah, won't be fine.
No, you won't.
Coming up on the show, we've got Anthony Stabile. We're going to talk about the Belmont Stakes with our guy Big A. We got Eddie Garcia going to talk a little hockey as the Stanley Cup Finals start tomorrow.
How's the Stanley Cup Finals start 2 days after the NBA Finals?
Dude, I don't understand the schedule on any of these.
I don't either.
It's
And,
so
and
dumb.
somebody way smarter than me, and I mean, leave it to TK. He's going to probably try to rationalize why it should take a week.
This actually
to start.
feels like a Stephen Young. Well, actually,
No, Steven's not a contrarian. TK is.
no, but he will be like, well, what they actually do. The reason
I don't
there's
think
a delay.
I don't think Steven sounds like that. And not to generalize, but he is married to a sister. I don't know if she would allow him to talk like that.
Have you seen the? Never mind. I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, the before and afters.
yeah.
Yeah, I've seen those all the time. They come up on my.
Yeah, they all sound like that on the before.
those
they
are
all- they
those
all-
are hilarious.
They all look like they sound like, well, actually, and then they
No,
get the makeover,
I
and
don't.
then they don't anymore.
Although Steven does appear extremely bright, that should not be a cultural thing.
What the well, actually?
Yeah, I mean,
It's not
using-
cultural.
Okay,
It can be whoever you want to be.
all right.
I don't know what Steven looks like. I have no idea. I mean, I know who Steve Young looks like, but Steven Young on our YouTube, I don't know what he looks like.
It's Steven with a PH. How do we know it's not Stefan?
It could be
Like Curry.
my guy, better than KD. Mike Sautter at 8:30,
You say some preposterous
and
things.
Matty
A lot of new offers out, man.
Matty Vrzal at 9:45. Let's talk about. We don't have a lot of time here, but I do want to talk about offers.
Isn't it crazy? Like
Yeah.
all these here come these other schools, and
It's almost like they understand Nebraska knows what they're doing.
yeah, but a couple of offers like
Well, I mean, okay, not just the staff, but the high
so
schools.
so
too. That
and
the high
and
schools
it's
know
a
what they're doing.
couple of schools that are pretty stingy with offers.
Yeah.
I think Iowa State and K-State
Super
are
stingy.
very very like
I think Iowa
they
is
do
too.
their homework. Oh, that's a given.
Yeah, Iowa
they
State,
just aren't-
K-State.
They just aren't.
Like those are hard offers to get,
Yeah.
and you have to really
Then
sort of
Segrin
fit,
gets one.
You have to fit a mold.
Who else? Oh, Marion Jackson got one.
Yeah.
He's K-State. We talked about Braylon.
Mhm.
It's like, what's his buckets? The counterpart. Well, they have like 6. but-
Oh, the tight end at
North South.
Jensen.
Yep. Got
yeah.
racked up 2 in
Yep.
like the last 5 days.
Yep. He there's a lot of Power 5 talent.
So this is what I'm curious, right? Because I think there will be a great debate over the best player in the class.
Mhm. For 25.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because the guy that's really, really good has been committed for a long time, so he doesn't garner a lot of the discussion.
Mhm.
But Tyson Terry is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Christian is the number 1 ranked prospect. How about his U-turn yesterday? I started to say something, but it's not my business. Cancels SC.
Yeah.
And is going to Auburn.
That's a vibe.
It's DJ Durkin. It's all DJ
Yeah.
Durkin. Yeah. And it's like I told people, I would tell this to, well, I probably wouldn't tell this to as many people that are recruiting against Nebraska, but I would certainly tell Nebraska. He's not, he's such a feel guy. He's a total empath.
Durkin?
No.
Oh, Christian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Total empath.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. He feels what you feel. He goes by feel.
Mm-hmm.
He's a thinker. He's gonna be interesting.
Yeah, he's the one that I have, and not that I know any of these guys because I don't do what like you or Mike Sautter do or anything like that, but he's the one that I have the hardest time getting a gauge on.
Oh yeah, that's everybody. It's even people that know him, and I think
Yeah.
he's fine like that. It's okay. You know, it's like I would say about, and of course I get misrepresented because people can't hear, but it's like I would tell you about Dawson Merritt.
Mm.
There are things, but when you don't know people, there can be things about their personality that can come across a certain way, and that may not be who they are at all.
Yeah, if you don't understand anything,
right?
If you don't understand,
where I was like, well, it may be a red flag for me. I don't think anybody cares when you're that good of a player.
Yeah,
I could easily see where Christian's delivery would bother people.
Kind of be off-putting to people.
Yeah,
yeah,
and it's I get it. I still obviously, and I'm not even biased. I just know him.
Yeah. Well, it's different. Like in a different way, my delivery can be off-putting to people as well. But if you know me, you kind of
very much so
more where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I think it's awful,
and that's fine. But you still show up every day. So
I know.
I think that's
it's getting harder.
At a certain point, that's a you problem. Like,
hey, figure it out, dude.
If you
all right, man, I'm gonna figure it out.
If you
we probably got it because there are some very strong-willed personalities in this class.
Yeah,
and I like. Well, and I keep saying this class. Like I look at AJ. AJ's not in this class.
Yeah, it's like 25, 26.
But there are a lot of toughies to comp if you want to fit them in a box.
Yeah,
you got to figure out if you want to win football games or not.
Yeah, that's a good question. We will continue with the show. We've got more Nebraska football recruiting talk and much more coming up here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. Oh, you're only kind of DB?
I mean, I feel like I'm in my right frame of mind, but it isn't super steady.
Steady Eddie?
Nah, we're just playing it by ear for the next 3 hours and see what happens.
I feel like a penguin.
Me too, Sip.
We're down to like 2.5. We're good to go.
Are you sure? Just see this thing through.
Just write it out.
Just see it through.
Go get some sleep at some point.
No. I have a speaking engagement.
Okay, well, after that, maybe take a little napsy.
And then I got to go get Breeze at 2.
Well,
then I got to figure out, you know what my real dilemma is today, Champ?
What's for dinner?
Nope, I already know. Even though that was like pulling teeth, but I have to beat the weather.
Oh, yeah.
Because I want to do something on the pit.
Yeah. Might get a little, I don't think it's supposed to come till later.
So I heard 6, like severe. And then I, not like Chris or Michael or, any of those guys, Miles, but different severe. But then I heard it could start as early as 4. Ask your mom. I should ask my mom.
I should ask my mom. My weather app says not till later, but
that'd be great.
It could be wrong
because I don't want to eat dinner at 4 o'clock.
And
I don't like to unless it's supposed to rest. I don't like eating after it's come off the grill.
You like it like hot and fresh?
Well, I'm gonna do some meat that I don't want to sit.
I'll text mom, see what's going on.
By then, my mom is going to be asking me what time Big A's coming on. I'm about to tell her 7:43.
we got to get these picks too.
Yeah, Aaron. So that recruiting thing is interesting because I believe this. I said this about last year's class. First of all, I feel like I stole your thunder because you looked at me like you were going to open your mouth to say something.
Yeah,
and we were up against the break.
That's okay.
We were talking about recruiting different types of kids. And you were going to say what?
Yeah,
and I apologize.
Well, because we were talking about
the clock apologizes.
Yeah, it's not your fault. It's the time.
Yeah, Shane.
Time is what the time is. Yeah,
I heard I got cut off yesterday. Somebody thought I was actually going to say something good.
Shane, quit blaming Damon for stuff.
Don't blame Shane.
No problem at all. Go Big Red.
No, we were talking about Christian and how, like, I think he's one of the hardest guys to get any kind of read on.
Yep.
And what
It's even hard for me, and I love him.
yeah, you're around him.
Like
all the time.
I love him.
Yeah, and you're around him all the time.
All the time.
Like no one probably that has any idea or is talking about this has any closer like vibe on Christian Jones than you do,
100%.
and you have no idea, right? And it reminds me a lot of, and if he had a different last name, we would have viewed Caleb the exact same way.
Yeah,
because
I had a feeling that's what I just told my guy Aaron. I just told somebody on Twitter that I felt like that was on the tip of your tongue.
I think Caleb is a really hard guy to get a read on, and especially during the recruiting process. And if his name, people assumed he was going to Nebraska because of his last name. That was not the case.
Yeah, that's what was. I shouldn't have let it, but that was a lot of what was driving me crazy because I felt like that added to the pressure.
Yeah, it 100% did.
Yeah,
but the truth of it was, had his last name been Jones, no one would have thought that because you could not get a vibe on him at all.
Yeah. So AK brings up not Andy Kendi, Aaron, and I listen to him because I think he thinks things through. Like I've met him, and it's funny because I tend to gravitate towards these guys that I didn't think liked me early. Like we didn't have a lot of positive interactions, in my opinion, early on social media, but I kind of stayed with it. He says, I'd be shocked, but with the way Rule and staff approach recruiting, it would tell me that even more. It's why I thought your son was a thinker because he took the entire process so seriously. Those are good kids to land, in my opinion.
I agree they're good kids to land.
CJ will definitely take this process seriously. He's not going to give you a ton to go on until it hits him. But he did say, like, even when Nebraska came multiple times, we shot bruh, like, we've done some things. Like, we played horse and pickup and, like, you know what I mean? And it was kind of an awkward sit down because he's just not going to spill the beans. He's very
just kind of reserved with it.
Yep. It's how he plays. And it's funny. I had to ask Coach Lamanji a couple years ago, like when I first got him, I'm like, you got to help me here. Like what is going on? And he, kind of shrugged and said different systems. So then I asked I asked Coach Queen. I said, okay, all right, let's cut through the chase. And he said, he is very, very analytical. He's a feeler. And I was like, oh, so he's like me. So he said, just use as few words as possible. Unless you don't want him to overthink it. Use as few words as possible. Change our whole relationship. 1-2 words. Gave him a nickname. Couple things I wanted to do. And now he's basically an extension of me.
Yeah.
Oh, he is, and not because I'm good, just as a coach, he knows. He
can anticipate what you are going to want.
Hey, CJ, 2x2.
Yeah.
Hey, face of one, leverage. Sooner, drop them.
Yeah.
Anchor. Like I can do that.
Yeah, you just do the keywords.
It's incredible.
Yeah. They're just the cues, the verbal cues.
Yep. Yeah. And he has this thing where he truly wants to be great. So it's not that hard, but I think this is a very interesting class to get a read on. If you want to count, I always think Amarion is gonna be a senior. He's not. He's only gonna be a junior.
Yeah, I do. I keep forgetting that.
So, but he's in that discussion. I think Lofton is kind of in that discussion.
I think so.
Right? Like doesn't give you a ton. Like you'll read write-ups and kind of you watch the personalities,
but doesn't give you a lot.
No,
most of the guys don't. I mean,
Terry was that way too. He was really that way.
Yeah,
but he committed early because he doesn't like nonsense.
Yeah,
right. He just
if he knows what he wants to do, he's
traveled his whole life.
Yeah, so we're just not gonna.
Right. This guy's been wrestling. He's been playing football. There's just so many guys in this class where I'm thinking. I'm not putting AJ in that class. I know he's the next year, but the offer with Van Segren, and I don't know him that well. I just know he came from. I know what I mean, you know what the streets say, right? But I don't ever go by that,
Mhm.
right? I get the Papio, the Millard South thing, and whatever. But just a lot of these guys that are getting schools in, I think, are tough. Elijah Wayne
Mhm.
is in that discussion where he's very quiet, very soft-spoken kid. He's got a big weekend coming up, and I think he's either going to go to Friday Night Lights tonight or he'll be there tomorrow. I think Coach Barthel's. I think he's tonight.
Mhm.
But he's another kid over at Central who doesn't give you a ton.
Mhm.
So you have to kind of get in
You
there.
gotta go excavating a little bit.
Yeah. But I think Aaron's got a decent point.
Well, I like the guys that are thinkers and that take the process seriously because I feel
Like they don't jack around a lot on social media and
well, not just that, but once they get there, usually they know they're there for a reason, right? People that make emotional decisions are way more likely to change their mind.
yeah, and what did CJ tell what did he tell? I don't know if you do, it's Verghese. Do I pronounce
I think Verghese.
I'm just gonna call him Tim.
Okay.
From inside Nebraska, right?
Yeah.
He did a sit down with him, and it was funny because Christian used the word that I always use with him.
Mhm.
He goes, I'll know because I'll get a feel.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm telling you guys, like that's who he is. I know sometimes you could leave a conversation with him and you're like, well, what do you think? He's processing.
Mhm.
Like he'll be just fine.
Well, and it's weird because a lot of times people
I know people hear that sometimes and they kind of roll their eyes.
Well, not just
he's not like that.
not just that, but you use the term, but you have both used the terms empath, analytical, and feel with him, which some people think the empath and the analytical are opposing, and they're really not, right?
No, that's
The empath is you take in the information that's around you and you absorb not only the hard info, but also kind of the emotional info that you're gathering from other people. And then the analytical is you then process and break that down to figure out what it means, right?
the downside of my personality.
Mhm.
Well, there's several, but the one for me personally is I tend to absorb what other people are feeling,
Mhm.
even though it's not. It can be my thing, but it's not my thing.
Yeah.
And so what do I have a tendency to do? I'll shut it down.
Yeah. Because you don't want to have to process everything all the time.
So I think in the recruiting process like this, I think you see a lot of that with kids that think, but this is a really, really the next 2 years.
Mhm.
I mean, people thought 24 was good. The next 2 years should be spectacular.
They're insane. Yeah. The next 2 years are insane.
Should be spectacular.
Coming.
And 3 if you add 27.
Yes.
Because they've got offers too.
Coming up next, we've got Big A, Anthony Stabile. We're going to talk about the Belmont Stakes here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, on the Pillar Exterior stage. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by Big A, Anthony Stabile, our horse racing expert. Big A, what's going on, buddy?
I'd like to think I've become more than that at this point. I'm almost like
part of the family.
Some comic. Well, definitely part of the family right away. But I'd like to think I'm part of the comic relief portion of the program at this point.
It's incredible, man. People love it. It's just like, and it's funny because somebody asked me on social media. They're like, why do you gravitate to the people that give you the hardest times? And I was like, you know what? I need to take a look at that because I think it says more about me than it is the people that I enjoy talking to.
Yeah, that's something you can take up with Dr. Shapiro during the week. I can't get involved with that, buddy. I don't know what's going on there.
He's comic relief, not therapy.
It's love, right? It's all love. That's what it is. I always tell my friends, if I didn't break your chops, like, be more careful of me when I'm quiet or I ignore you. If I'm breaking your chops, you don't have to worry about anything. Your life's good.
Yeah,
so,
but I won't end up in the back of a trunk or anything. I like that. I like that.
See, right away with the I come with the stereotype. I don't know about that. If I could do my own work with my own bare hands.
Hey, just the way we drew it up, right? I mean, Sees the Gray like just ruined everybody's ticket a couple of weeks ago. I mean, would you rather? I mean, this is 6 straight years this is going to happen where no horse will finish first. Like, What were the odds? We know the odds, but like, did your jaw drop?
Well, I came on the program 3 weeks ago and said 2 horses would surprise me. Mugga 2 and Seize the Gray. Yep. So I went to the Meadowlands with a couple of my best friends, and I was just watching the race. And I was just like, this is just typical lately, because I have not been on a great gambling run lately. I have been gambling a lot.
Yeah.
And Raj, I can't even break his chops today about the meat sauce, because my man retweeted the Finger Lakes scratches and changes the other day. The chances that he knows what scratches and changes are, or where Finger Lakes is, are 0.00.
I read.
My man was just loyal. My man just went
to this. I'm trying to learn.
Post.
Listen,
my man.
You know what it is? I got to have something to talk to my mom about. I mean, life isn't cutting it, so why not horses?
No, I know that. Yeah, so it's just, you know what it is? My gambling hasn't been good lately. So when he ran off like that, I was just like, this is typical. And it's funny because, in my business, a lot of it's hindsight. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I like to do, and I think if you're a good, all kidding aside for a minute, if you're a good handicapper, when I was a kid, I used to take the racing form home. The racing form is where you look at the past performance and stuff. I used to take it home, and I used to try to figure out how a horse won. Like, I would say to myself, well, I didn't like this horse. I don't understand, what were the dynamics of this race? Mm-hmm. What could I see maybe next time? Mm. And the only thing I came up with was his best race prior to that was on a sloppy track, and it rained all week at Baltimore, and he got on the lead, and it was the same rider, and he put him on the lead, and that was it. And I guess that was just the game plan. And, there was a lot of disinterest early. Nobody tried to go to the lead with him. That Imagination horse was on the outside. He was like 4 or 5 paths from him. So when Seize the Gray was allowed to just waltz alone on the lead, even though he went honest in the fractions, they're still, if they're in there, they have some substance. They're somewhat of a good horse, and he just didn't stop.
Hey, how did Pratt get this? How's he riding? Like, how do you think the stay of suspension came about?
So there's a lot of different protocols in racing. Mm-hmm. So you'll get levied a suspension, and then you're able to appeal. And what some jurisdictions will do is they may tack a day or 2 onto the appeal. So maybe, let's say a guy gets 3 days, they suspend the rider for 3 days. If he waives the appeal, it's just 3 days. Sometimes if they suspend the guy 5 days, if he waives the appeal, maybe they'll reduce it to 3. Hmm. So in this instance, he appealed, and now they'll tack a day or 2 on. There's also, you could do dispensation and ride a certain day and then add on a day somewhere else with 2 days. So yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of it's an interesting rider change for the favorite Sierra Leone, because he's had this habit. And, I was part of the chorus. Well, if Joel Rosario rides him, maybe he stays straight. Or if Hurrdat Ortiz Jr. rides him, maybe he stays straight. But the funny thing is, you could have said the same for Forever Young, if Forever Young didn't get intimidated. So I think all of that led to the rider change to put Pratt on the favorite. Mm. And more importantly, his trainer, Chad Brown's going to change the bit on the horse. So I can't really give you a human analogy to this, because they don't help performance. It would almost be like if a boxer was changing his mouthpiece. Okay. Right. Maybe his mouthpiece wasn't fitting him right. So this will also.
And that's actually actually a big deal in boxing. So I get it. I totally.
I didn't know that. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So that. So it was actually. Well, what else is new? I come up with gems even when I don't know that.
That is a big. Those guys are picky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So this is a little different, because this horse needed it. Like, this change is needed. The rider needs to have a little bit more control of his mouth, which obviously leads to his head. So to stop him from doing these things, because listen, he's a really nice horse, but he's even done this in his wins. Mm. So, as the prizes get a little bit bigger and the wars get a little bit deeper, you want to have every advantage you can have. So his trainer, who's a local guy, he would love nothing more than to win a Triple Crown race in his backyard. And you have to think his window's going to be small because the race is in Saratoga this year because they're knocking Belmont Park down. So it's this year, next year. I would imagine 2026 is a coin flip whether Belmont's ready or not. So there's going to be a window of 2 or 3 years where you can be able to win a Triple Crown race at one of the most historic racetracks in all the world. Certainly right up there in America, but in all the world, people want to win at Saratoga. So they're in the midst of a 4-day Belmont Stakes Racing Festival upstate at Saratoga, and the weather's cooperating so far. If the track's going to be fast tomorrow, unless they get really inundated with some rain. And listen, every now and then over those Adirondacks, there'll be some thunder boomers coming through. But I think they're going to have a fair racetrack for the first time in the series. I think there was some residual moisture in the track for the Derby. The Preakness was sloppy, so it'll be the Derby winner versus the Preakness winner versus the near miss in the Derby versus the the second place finisher in the Preakness. I mean, you have all the right characters there. I can tell you that.
So, Big A, you mentioned a fast track over there at Saratoga. Who does that benefit the most? We talked a little bit about the sloppy track, obviously helping out at the Preakness, and then maybe Kentucky Derby was a little bit softer than they were leading us to believe as well. Like, who does the fast track help the most here?
So you can assume, you always assume they could all run on a fast track. The wet track kind of is what gives a little bit of a boost to some horses. So on a fast track, I think there's more negatives than positives. I don't think Seize the Graze is potent. I don't think Mystic Dan's is potent on a fast track. I think 3 horses can win the race.
You look at 6 to 1, it's hard to pass on. It's like Mystic Dan.
But,
but it's not value if it doesn't win, right? Like, that's kind of a misnomer.
That value is the most overused word in horse racing. because you're 100% right? That's like that's like poker players, right? Oh, well, I got too much in the pot. Buddy, if you got 7s and I got jacks, I don't care how much you got in the pot. Don't put any more in there.
lay it down. That's why we say the best hand in poker is the one is the losing hand you get away from.
Exactly. So I think 3 horses can win the race. I think a horse named Resilience, who made a huge move in the Kentucky Derby to get into contention and then flattened out late, I think he can rebound. It's his second race going a mile and a quarter. And I think he's a horse. He's 10 to 1 on the morning line. I don't know what the live odds are, but he's a number 2. I think he's live. I think Sierra Leone can win. Mm-hmm. There's some early speed in the race, and that helps his cause. And if the bit works, he might just be the best horse in the race. But the horse I'm picking on top is a lightly raced horse by the name of Mindframe.
I was going to ask you about him. Yep.
Yeah, he's won his 2 races by a combined 20 lengths. They were 7 furlongs and 8.5 furlongs, and now he has to go to 10 furlongs. And he's drawn all the way on the outside, but he has tactical speed, and what that means is he doesn't necessarily have to be in front, but he won't be all the way in the back. So I would imagine that his jockey, Hurrdat Jr., who got hurt yesterday, he's been cleared to ride today. He's the best jockey in the country.
Hey, so he's in the 10 spot, right? He's 10, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's got to get around the rest of them, but there's a long enough run from the start of the race till the first turn that he can get over. It's the last thing. The last thing I'm worried about is that horse not getting a good trip between his tactical speed and his rider. So I'm picking the race 10-9-2 with Mindframe on top. He'll probably be around 4 to 1 when all said and done, 3 to 1, and it should be an interesting race. 1.25 miles this year instead of 1.5 miles. So, yeah, it's an interesting race. The real question is, are you guys going to go ahead? I'm sorry.
Do you like that it's shortened?
No. So we've talked about this in the past. I have monikered myself as the Beast of the Belmont. Yeah. And before I started coming on the show, I had a ridiculous run of long shot winners in the race. 10 years ago today, Tona was paid $20. 2 years later, Creator paid $36. The next year, Caprit paid $10. Drosselmeyer won it in 2010 and paid $27 and change. I've made a lot of money in the Belmont Stakes, and part of the reason I've made the money is because I pride myself on being a little bit of a pedigree. I look at the breeding and stuff, and that helps you in the 1.5 miles because you need to know your stuff and try to find the horses that are going to be able to stay and appreciate the added distance. Now this is pretty much when you're handicapping this race, it's like Kentucky Derby too, because it's 1.25 miles and it's 5 weeks later. So it's a little bit more of a practical race to handicap, but I think I have a little bit of my edge taken away from the race this
year. That's Big A. Anthony Stabile, we appreciate you, bud. We will hopefully catch up again soon.
10-9-2, I'm with you, buddy.
You guys are going to make me wait until – you're not going to make me wait until May to come back on here, are you?
No. Listen, there's lots of other things. I've obviously followed you on Twitter for – you got lots of good sports takes and live too, man. Sometimes we just need a break. Can we always call you?
Oh, you can call me. I was telling at some point I'm just going to come hijack it with Shane. I mean, that's just not going
to. He's the only fun one anyway. So I mean,
it's going to happen. That's my man.
Yeah.
Shane's my man. I told you they tried to pilfer me. I called Shane. I was like, yo, you got people here trying to grab the Big A. You gotta
listen, all 4'11" of him, Big A. He'll put it down. You guys will be like Arnold and Danny, twins, man.
I'm 5'10". I'm 5'10", 370. I eat frost. There ain't no problem. He got no problem. I got my man Shane. Don't worry about that.
Appreciate you, buddy.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right, guys. We'll talk soon.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. We are joined now by Eddie Garcia of Fox Sports Radio. He's our hockey expert. Eddie, how are you this morning?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Eddie, we are hanging in there, man. Are you a horse racing guy at all?
I'm not.
All right, so no Belmont for you. So we're just watching playoff hockey, right?
Yes. This week off is a little bit long, but ready for it to get going on Saturday.
Is it just a TV thing? Like, because we got the same thing in the NBA. Like, what are we doing with these 7, 8, 9, 10 day breaks? Like, what's happening here?
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. Especially when you consider that ESPN ABC is doing both the NBA final and the Stanley Cup final, so that probably plays a factor. I think there were, just in case there was a possibility of both the conference finals going 7 games, you got to kind of factor that in a little bit as well, and. Then you've got the longest distance ever between Stanley Cup finalists, so maybe that plays a little bit of a factor in as well. But it's a week off is a bit much, whether it's NBA or NHL. I mean, look, 2 weeks off of the Super Bowl is probably too much too. So all the sports do it, I guess.
It's interesting. Obviously, Florida just a slight 1A fave in the East behind Carolina when this whole thing first started. But you brought up something interesting. When we talked to you a couple weeks ago, you liked Edmonton's makeup and felt like, you know what, like they're probably better than we think. But did you think Stanley Cup finals better?
I did not. No, I did not. And mostly because of their goaltending. Stuart Skinner is an okay goalie. He's far from elite, but I got to give him credit. In Game 6, he came up huge. That was one game where I felt in either of the conference finals that the better team probably didn't win. So that was one of those cases where you did have the goalie steal one, and I didn't think he had it in him, so I got to give him a ton of credit for that. I still think the goalie edge in the final goes to Florida with Sergei Bobrovsky. But Skinner certainly is, he's got more confidence than he's ever had in himself right now coming off that big Game 6 performance. But it only takes one bad game for that to go the other way, I think, as well. And I think, if one of these have a misstep, I feel a lot better about Bobrovsky bouncing back than I do Stuart Skinner, who did get benched for a couple of games in these playoffs. So, but you know what? Like I said, I don't want to take credit away from him. He came up huge in Game 6. Maybe he rides that wave of confidence, and gets the Oilers the Stanley Cup. But I just think, looking at the breakdown of this matchup, that I think the Panthers definitely have an edge in net. But I was surprised. I thought the Stars would beat the Oilers. Look, the Edmonton's power play and their penalty kill has been phenomenal. So
yeah, Dallas almost took the collar. It was unbelievable.
They did, actually.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, I knew we were
a power play goal.
Just trending in the wrong direction. Let me ask you something. Could Edmonton learn anything? And I get it. It's about matchups. Could Edmonton learn anything from dealing with Dallas's depth and their line matching, i.e. home and away, how you get that, last ice and et cetera. Do you think there was any teachable moments for Edmonton dealing with Dallas's depth, that they're going to get the Panthers, a team that has got equally, if not as almost as good a depth as Dallas?
I think you could make that argument. I just think, though, for this series, It's going to come down to special teams, and I think officiating is going to be huge. How are the referees going to call this? They've been trending in recent years towards calling it a little bit more like regular season hockey because, back in the day, you'd have to practically commit homicide on the ice to get, a penalty when the game was tied late. And then they're calling penalties now. They've made the switch, but, will they continue to do it? Florida is a heavy forechecking team. They're going to be very physical.
Yeah.
Can they get away with that and not put Edmonton on the power play? That's going to be very, very interesting and key to the series to me.
We're talking with Eddie Garcia from Fox Sports. He also does a hockey podcast with Locked On for the LA Kings. Eddie, as you're looking at the matchup, obviously you mentioned how the series is allowed to be played by the referees is going to be a key in stylistically how this thing plays out. What are some of the other things you're looking for in terms of who has the, I don't know if easiest, but maybe clearest path to victory in this series?
Well, I really think it's going to be a good matchup. It may not be super sexy for casual sports fans. Edmonton, is Edmonton. I mean, they have Wayne Gretzky and Mark Messier, but that was a while ago, right? Mm-hmm. And Florida's never won a Stanley Cup final, so maybe there's some appeal to see a team like that finally win it. But they have no real positive history when it comes to the Stanley Cup final. They're 1-8 all time in Stanley Cup finals games. I'm not saying that plays a factor in it. I don't think it does, but just there's not a lot of sizzle based on really the past. These two teams obviously have never met up in the finals before. They don't have really any history against each other at all. But just looking at it from a hockey standpoint, I think there's a lot of interesting aspects to it. I think there's a lot of, Connor McDavid obviously is going to be the marquee man. It's going to be the guy that's going to get a lot of attention. But Leon Draisaitl is a phenomenal talent as well. Edmonton has a defenseman, Evan Bouchard, that is really emerging as an elite level kind of a defenseman. Zach Hyman had a terrific year for the Oilers as well. So they've got more than just Connor McDavid. For Florida, you talked about their depth. Obviously, Matthew Tkachuk is a guy who can be in the middle of everything and try and mix it up and get some of the Oilers off of their game. Sasha Barkov, their captain, is a tremendous player as well. A lot of depth, though. Sam Bennett, another guy, if you watch the Boston series, was in the middle of everything. There's a lot of grittiness to the Florida Panthers. They really love to be physical. And as you mentioned, yes, they do have a ton of depth as well. A lot of different guys that can contribute.
So that 14 class, because I'm going to ask you about Draisaitl here in a second, had Pasternak, Braden Point, Nylander. I think Nylander was 8 overall, and Pasternak Point was, I don't know when Tampa took him. It was in the 70s. But when you look back at that draft and you look at what Draisaitl has been able to do, especially when it matters most, where is he on the pantheon right now of the current players in hockey?
I think he's definitely in the discussion. He's an elite player. There's no doubt about that. I think his playmaking, his passing ability is on par with a guy like Nikita Kucherov, which is amongst the best in the game. Certainly on the power play, he's as good a finisher as anybody in the game.
How about his clutch? How about his clutch gene? Like, can you? A guy in that class, he's got it too. In Pasternak, like where he just he's so timely.
Yeah, no, he's an amazing player. He really is. I mean, look, he does take a back seat to Connor McDavid, but anybody would. Anybody on that list you mentioned would if they played with him, because he's a dynamic player. You saw it if you watched the Game 6 against Dallas. The first goal he scored was, there's only a couple of guys in the league that can do something like that.
Yeah.
So, but to his credit, I will say this: to his credit, he's at somewhere along the line, whether it was the coach Chris Knobloch took over early in the year when they were really struggling and made a coaching change, and he coached McDavid in juniors, so they have a long relationship. I don't know if it was him that went to him or if he figured it out on his own, that him just being, putting the team on his back and carrying them wasn't going to work. He had to make everybody around him better. And he's completely done that. He's become more of a setup man than he is a finisher, but he can still finish as well when he has to. So he's turned himself into a more well-rounded player. And on the power play, they just let him have the puck and freelance. And as a defense, to try and stop that, you don't know what he's going to do. If you collapse on him, he finds an open man for an easy score. And even if you do collapse on him, he might score anyway. So he's taking it to another level. Not, the goal scoring was down this year, and he's kind of picking his spots here and there, but he's still, the elite talent in the league and in the series.
Eddie, I've been wondering about some of the storylines in this series, and the one that keeps getting brought up is Connor McDavid trying to get the Stanley Cup, right, and what that means for his legacy. Is that actually an important thing? I know obviously winning championships, if you're an all-time great player, is part of the thing, but how much to you does that matter? And are there any other storylines you think are maybe more important than that, or is that really the big deal here?
I think that's probably the obvious one. I think whether Connor McDavid wins a cup or not, he's going to be the elite player of his generation. But if he wins a cup or more, then you put him in the discussion with the all-time greats.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe you could argue he's there already just because of his speed and his skill and his way he can control the puck, and nobody else has really done it like that. So just the skill is really above and beyond. But again, if you're going to start talking about greats of the great and Mount Rushmore and all those kinds of things, if you win a title, that gets you on there a lot more in the discussion than if you don't, because you could say, well, how good was he? He never was able to elevate those around him. But like I said, this year he really has done that.
Mm.
So I think if he can finish off the story with the championship, then that goes a long way in getting him in that kind of discussion. Like I said, for his generation, I don't think he has to win a cup to be considered the best player of his generation. But when you're going to compare him against Gretzky and some of those guys, you got to have a few cups.
I imagine I kind of maybe know the answer just based on how you feel about the goaltending, but if pace and the ability to control the neutral zone is going to be key when you're looking at how this thing shapes up, is it basically Edmonton's, like their spurt ability, their ability to get goals in bunches versus kind of the defensiveness and the depth, the prowess of the Panthers? How are you looking at the matchup? It's not in another sport, I'd probably say space and pace. How do you look at it?
Well, I got to be honest. I thought, and I think a lot of people thought going into this season, with good reason, that you thought if the Oilers have to outscore you to win, but they really have become a very respectable defensive team. They've improved on that side of their game tremendously, and they've had other players, contributing now. So, in addition to what they've got with Connor McDavid, so they're not. This is not just even though they have elite offensive talent, it's not just about them outscoring you anymore, which is why they are where they are, because that wasn't working in the past. So they do have that ability to win like a 2-1 game now, which you really didn't think they did in the past. So, but the goaltending is still a key, but they're improved defensively. But Florida, Florida comes at you in waves.
Yeah.
They get on that forecheck, they pound you, they make you pay a price physically, they force you into mistakes, and they're a very patient team as well. They're not worried about scoring 4 or 5 goals. Although I think they can kind of do it either way. Also, they can score, but they can play a grinded out game as well. I think they probably can grind it out a little bit more than Edmonton. So, but I think it's gonna be a great series. I think it goes 7. I'll pick Florida to win. But it's going to be a really close series, I think. And like I said, the way it's officiated, how many opportunities Edmonton gets on the power play, I think will also dictate a lot.
That's Eddie Garcia. You heard it here. Florida in 7. Eddie, we appreciate your time as always. Hopefully we'll catch up with you again soon.
All right. Sounds good. And looking forward to the game on Saturday.
Thanks, Eddie.
That's Eddie Garcia. He's from Fox Sports Radio, also hosts the Locked On LA Kings podcast and the Puck podcast. He's a busy man. He just got off work.
And he's just going home.
Yeah. I appreciate us being able to catch him on the commute there.
Is the first team that you think of for the great one, is the first team that you think of, is it the Oilers?
Oh yeah, 100%.
So we're gonna see Oiler highlights all the time during this series,
especially with Wayne on the set.
Yeah.
So I think there might be like an age thing with Gretzky, because the first thing I think of is Kings, and I know he was way, the winning and the prodigiousness with the Oilers is way better, but like he came into mine like cultural knowledge as an LA King, partially because he went to the LA Kings. Like that was a big deal.
We should have asked Eddie. I mean, at Kings, that's his
sweet spot right there.
That's his squad.
The funny
that's one of the good 30 for 30s is they describe how that all happened.
Oh, I know.
That's a really good one.
And it doesn't. It just because it is not as mainstream.
Yeah.
I think historically, maybe Babe Ruth. There are a few that are in the neighborhood of a guy changing addresses at a significant time in his career that just changed the landscape of the sport.
It's basically if instead of retiring and playing baseball, if Michael Jordan had just gone somewhere else to play basketball after 93.
Yeah.
That's the corollary.
It's like
that's a real thing that happened in hockey.
And Babe Ruth didn't get the coverage, but
he
for a bag of peanuts
but he also wasn't Babe Ruth when he got traded, not to the same degree, right? He was a really good player, obviously, but he wasn't the guy that he became. And so like that's not even like in terms of historically, yes, but at that point of his career, it's really not,
I mean, maybe Bonds.
Bonds is close. Bonds is probably close. Didn't have the degree of winning, but baseball's a little different that way.
It's interesting. I wonder if Brady wasn't so much on the back end.
Yeah. If that had happened like 7 years earlier.
Well, a few less Super Bowls because he just went and got one in Tampa too.
Yeah. But if he had gone after the first 4 in New England, gone somewhere else and got the other 3.
I don't know a ton of those comps.
There's just not.
If KD would win more championships, he would clearly be in the discussion.
Or if he had won some before he left, that'd be closer, right? That's tough. I mean, it just doesn't happen.
LeBron, maybe.
LeBron to Miami. But again,
and they didn't turn it around overnight.
And LeBron
took a little time.
Win any titles in Cleveland? Yeah, like that's the crazy thing.
You mean before he got to?
Yes, but before he left the first time.
Yeah,
like that's the crazy thing about the Gretzky thing is they were prodigiously successful, not just him individually, but as a team. Like that. That's what makes it so unusual. When you have that level of team and individual success, guys just don't leave.
Who has the more recognizable face based on what post good genes or good docs, Brady or Gretzky? Tom Brady has a really weird look now.
He's had some,
I don't know. I don't want to speculate. He just looks a lot different.
He's had some changes in his appearance, one way or another. I don't know how or what.
That's Bruce Hornsby, right?
Bruce Hornsby in the range. Just off the cuff here, let me ask this one question.
Mandalorian
isn't it Change?
Mandolin.
Who sings Shane? Who sings Changes again?
Ozzy sings Changes.
You mean Tupac? I see no changes.
The one that got sampled. Who did that originally?
That's just the way it is.
Yeah. It's Bruce Hornsby. Am I not?
I don't know.
I'm the last one up here that should know that.
I don't know. This all of this music falls into your wheelhouse. Right, it seems like
it is Bruce Hornsby and The Range.
Okay. All right, let's land that plane.
I don't know who Bruce Hornsby is.
Yeah, I'm not as with all your recall of like weird history and random sports and man, music is I don't know, bud.
No, it's iffy. It has to be in my wheelhouse. If it's outside of my square inch, like I'm out. But if it's in there, like I got it.
Yeah.
If it's in there, I'm on lock.
So he looks vastly different. And remember, we're talking about a guy that just without one lick of work is going to the #1 broadcast team.
Yeah, how
do you think the scrutiny will be?
Just a cool $375 million for it too.
You're like, yeah, Greg Olson, deuces.
Yeah,
that's all right though. I mean,
there's going to be a learning curve.
He will be heavily criticized.
He will be
critiqued, I should say.
Probably criticized too. Whether he's deserved or not, he will probably be heavily criticized.
What if he's good?
Somebody will find a reason. He might be good. Like I have no idea.
It's just.
But no one does. That's
just
kind of
a hard job to get out of the rack and
Yeah, without any experience.
And be good at.
Now, he's obviously, if he applies the same mentality that he used to play football and like he gets
just
like
grimy and grind. And
yeah, like the prep and like
the
work and whatever. Like if he works at it the same way he did at football, he'll be fine.
It's funny because it's just one of those jobs where being a certain degree of natural
helps a lot.
Is what really works.
Yeah, it really does.
Right?
There's a lot.
Yeah, you ever work with those guys that because they prepped it have to get it in?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that. Those people are annoying.
Yeah. I also, you've worked with a lot of guys that and this is not knocking anybody, I didn't go to broadcast school or journalism school or whatever, but like you see people that think they're inherently better because they did that. Mm-hmm. And it's like, listen, you can get the degree. That doesn't mean you can do the job.
Yeah.
Right. And and vice versa.
No, I'm with you.
Now it's personal experience takes longer to get the job if you don't have the degree, but that's neither here nor there. But then, and then there's people that go and do it and they have the degree and they're good at it and they're natural and whatever. And they're great. Like it's terrific, but it's a different.
But you can also get the job not having the degree, but not be very good. I've seen that.
Yeah. He said he listed that as one of the options.
Yeah. There's a lot.
That might have been the first one you made.
There's a lot of options.
Shane, bless you.
Do this thing again, bro. Keep this thing rolling.
Why? So why is it so much Mahomes? Like, what's going on?
You just love Mahomes?
Why is it not always about?
I don't
Mahomes?
know how a Raiders fan can like be all in on the Chiefs.
It's weird. It's weird, but it's because he's a Lions fan now.
You can dislike the Chiefs.
Shane, will the Broncos have the worst record in that division?
This game is over.
No, the Raiders are worse, aren't they?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know you're thinking quarterback, but Denver isn't in a better position.
No, I know.
And Raiders have probably better they have better offensive talent.
It's like 50-50 right now.
How about them just giving Crosby a raise?
Just for funsies?
No contract extension, no nothing, just more money.
Yeah.
Like that's incredible.
Yeah, I don't totally understand that.
Oh, I would. I mean, he's looking at he's looking at some of these guys.
No, I don't understand. I understand giving him the raise based on his ability and production. I understand. Okay, what I don't understand is, so do they not think that he's going to have good years on the back end of that where they want the extension?
I don't know. He's just got to. You just don't see it very often.
Well, that's why I don't understand.
More money with no years.
That's what I mean. Like the money's for the player. I get that. The years are for the team. I don't understand giving him the money without getting the.
I think they just say, man, we appreciate you. We know that
that's great.
We know that you're a terror and you play really hard. You're 61 snaps. Like he's incredible.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's not a worse thing.
And I'm telling you, if they get good quarterback play, there's no reason they shouldn't be good.
Oh, if they get good quarterback play, they will be good. Their roster's not bad.
No, their roster's pretty good.
Yeah,
they'll be. How is Denver going to do it?
I don't know. Bo Nix.
Game over.
He kind of has to be good, doesn't he? Or at least
one of the guys does.
Playable. Right? Like that's a tough spot.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That's a tough division. Because
it's always 50-50 with the Raiders. It only takes one.
Think I'm going to make the same mistake and put the Chargers in the playoff again?
I do not think so.
No, I won't.
It only takes one cog to get out of line.
I'm sick of them burning me
for the Raiders, and then they'll be totally thrown
You're
off.
Such a skeptic.
But they never. I mean, they can't if they're not going down the straight line, and if it goes.
It doesn't matter. When you have a player in your division like Mahomes, you have to just hope that the Chiefs get bored.
Yeah, your margin for error is nothing.
I mean,
you have to hope that either.
Remember when we were ready to grab a little bit of dirt this year?
Yeah.
Last year? All they did was win the Super Bowl.
The thing you have to hope if you're.
And how did they sign McCole Hardman?
I don't know.
Dude, how about that?
Hey, Shane, are we going to break here, or are we going to play music or anything? Or
I don't know. I just want to talk to Raiders.
All right, cool.
I mean, can we just talk to Raiders? I'm totally into it right now.
I think we're past the break. Should I send this thing out, or?
I don't know. I got distracted.
Yeah, I see that. We're like a minute over. Hey, this is Hurrdat Sports Radio. If you're on the air, you didn't hear any of that last minute. We'll have Mike Sautter coming up next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. We're halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Mike Sautter joining us here on the Pillar Exterior stage. What's up, Mike?
I'm a little early today.
Hi, Jerome.
A little early.
I wasn't early walking in here. Man, I was walking slow.
Struggle a little bit.
Rough
So
out
were
here,
you
boys.
more sore from playing kickball or wrestling mulligan?
Probably the wrestling part because that was more my neck. This is like in the upper quadriceps.
You're a perfect example of just because you're thin does not make you fit.
Well, yeah, I'm definitely not fit. I don't work out. I don't do.
The extent of your.
I go for a walk. Like that's.
Well, I do too.
Maybe
walking is important.
I walk maybe.
You mow, but it's
I mow a lot.
It's self-propelled, right?
Yeah.
You're still walking.
No,
It's hot.
He's
Someday.
guiding and walking. It's fine. It's not hot yet.
Well, it's not like hot. The other day,
I'm so happy with this weather right now. It's
I'll take
ridiculous.
this.
I'm getting rain, and it's not scorching.
It's going right.
Yeah.
Last year, we were deciding, you and I, whether we were going to wave the white flag on our grass.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I'm never doing that.
I'll say that doesn't
It was miserable.
seem like it's in Sauter's repertoire here.
It was a struggle.
I mowed the other
we
day.
kept it up.
Yeah, you
I
kept
mowed
going.
man. My yard
Fought the good
looks
fight.
good right now. Yard looks good right now.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, it looks good.
We'll have to compare.
I am
I'm feeling pretty good.
I'm feeling real good about it.
I'm trying to get Durkin. I'm going to call them today
Mm-hmm.
and see if they can.
I had him out.
Finagle something. So what I want to do with not letting the dogs over there is probably he can like take his scraps and stuff from his business and fix it. Like I don't need
Is this a
anything
hole in the
immaculate,
fence?
and I know he does immaculate stuff.
Is it a fence?
I want something to keep the dogs from going over there and like digging.
Probably want like hedges or something.
Yeah, I don't want to pay for those.
Wow.
You can
And they take too long to grow, don't they?
you
Or
can
do you
buy
just get
big
them
ones.
You can buy ones that are like not little babies that are grown out a little bit.
So they won't go in between there. They're little dogs.
They are
They'll
little
go in
dogs.
there.
You might do like a trellis,
Ground
a
cover.
little trellis.
I don't
fence.
know what that is.
Buy
It's
some.
like the little bitty fences. They're like the crisscrosses.
Speaking of trellis, do you know that's who I would have compared Lee Robinson to? I would have compared him to Trell.
Huh.
Remember when? So people forget this about Trell, right? So this is a crazy segue. You remember Trelly coming out of middle school into 9th grade and 10th grade was not a very good shooter.
Right.
He was a slasher.
Mhm.
He had the long arm. He was
Yeah,
a
long
good
army.
defender.
Yeah. Mhm.
And then all of a sudden, like as a junior,
He just
we're like,
started shooting.
like,
yeah.
oh my gosh, this dude barely puts it on the deck anymore.
Yeah.
He's just a great shooter.
Mhm.
That's translated.
That's who Lee reminds me.
My
of.
Lee Robinson compared to Chucky thing was just the circumstance. I think.
Yeah.
Was
I wasn't like I don't
yeah,
want to
I
be
know.
overly critical. I
he's
just
just jumping into like
he was the talk of the town at a lot of our because we're doing obviously the high school circuit.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to be out of basketball for a year, but apparently people think Mike is better than he is.
Surprise,
but,
surprise.
Some kind of back talking about Lee. It's just like, hey, that's who he reminds me.
That's a pretty good comp. I just did.
Remember they had the awkward set shot too, and then all of a sudden
it was slow.
Wrightsell had a what's the thing that happens over in December?
Moratorium.
Nope.
Holiday
Holiday
class.
tournaments.
Yeah. He had a hell of a holiday tournament.
Remember that as a junior, and I
Yes.
was like, "Oh my gosh, this dude's gonna be ridiculous."
There it is.
And he had the next 2 years just shooting people's eyes out. He and Polk.
The Lee Robinson Chucky comparison I made was the
Polk. Hey, listen, you know why you'd like Polk? That dude.
He works his tail off.
He stays in the gym.
He's been that way.
I'm a huge Polk fan.
He's been. I mean, I remember watching him Omaha Magic days. Like
you're going back
like they were like
little
4th grade.
That's a good deep pull right there.
Yeah,
I'm
that group
I'm
was
a big Polk fan.
That group was good. Now the Lee thing is just the Chucky comp that I made, and talking Lee Robinson, he's at Westside as a freshman, and so there were comments about like, oh, imagine that he was supposed to go to such. That had nothing to do with like if you don't know the story, then you probably don't need to comment. Yeah. There wasn't anything fishy there. It's just like his parents just mom, whatever, made a decision like, no, we don't want him to go there. And it was like, okay, we'll take
I think it
him.
helps that his cousins at Westside.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
they're
that matters.
extremely close.
But it's also, one of those things where it's like, what are you gonna say if you're Western? You're like, no. Yeah,
People
you're gonna
think
say
we
yeah.
recruit too much. So even though you're really good and we didn't recruit you and you just want to come here on your own, we're not going to take you because people think it'll look.
Yeah,
that's not going to happen.
That's not going to happen.
Don't you get the sense though with the young guys? We'll get to football here in a second.
Yeah.
This is a good young freshman group coming.
Yeah,
hope. I think it's pretty good.
I hope so because we need a little.
I know a boost,
a little down spell.
Yeah, we're in a little bit of a. Yeah, we're just back to normal. Honestly,
that's fair.
It's not like down per se. We're just back to normal.
Regressing to the mean.
Yeah, like it's
regressing to the mean.
We're back to normal of like 3.2 players being Division I basketball players in the state every year.
Like 12.
Yeah. And those guys are, when I say they're Division I, like we're not talking high.
Power,
yeah, we're not talking power level guys. We had that nice run, and I will continue to say this. In the moment, I told people all the time, you better enjoy this because this doesn't come around very often.
I do like this if they hit their potential.
Right. There's
some good young players.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Speaking of which, I was talking to one of the dads. His kiddo is going to prep, and he's part of a pretty good freshman class. Like I've been saying that for a couple months. So I'm not going to beat that dead horse. And we were talking about quarterbacks in the Metro. Were we spoiled with?
Must have been.
We were talking about experienced quarterbacks coming back, right? And you have to probably start with Tamala.
Tamala, yeah, that's his first name. Yeah,
right. Because
first name.
Bellevue West will be breaking.
Well, I understand. Yeah,
they'll be breaking
played, but he
that's
didn't
like Braylon. So let's just. So we're breaking in a new starter. They're breaking in a new starter. North is breaking in a new starter. Elkhorn South, for all intents and purposes,
played. Half the year.
There's not a ton of experience at quarterback.
No. Will
Caniglio will he win the job at prep?
Probably. Because
he's a returner.
Yeah. Papio guy is back, played part-time.
Yep. He got most of the second half of the season.
So we're at there isn't a lot. Riggs at Elkhorn South played, he was forced into it due to injury. So he played what? He's probably got the most actual playing every down. Played like 7 games, 6, 7 games.
I would still probably say Tamala.
Tamala is definitely the most experienced, if you will, as far as on the field, not age, right? But
it just seems like I'll be curious to see how
it's going to look different.
How games look early.
It's a transition year
without experienced quarterbacks, but there are so many other good players.
Yeah. Jed is. I'm very interested to see his recruitment.
What do you think? What's the knock?
I don't know.
He's got good size.
He's 6'3", 2, 3.
He looks taller than that.
He looks like he's 6'4", 6'5".
Because he's thin.
Yeah.
Is that part of the? Is it just frame?
He's not that.
People.
Oh, I don't know. I
haven't seen him without pads,
thin.
so I don't know.
Braylon's not.
Braylon's 6'2", 185, 190.
God, you think he's 6'2"?
Yeah. Standing next to him, he's 6'2". I feel good about that.
I enjoyed watching you interview him because I talked
to
him
practice
quite a bit. He needs to come out of that.
Steve and I talked after. He goes, we need. I go, you.
That's. I told him that's part of it. Like, it's funny because I just was talking to Christian this morning, and I'm like, your leadership. We don't have a real vocal team.
Yep, not yet. Because you had so many vocal guys last year.
We don't have a real. I don't even know. And I said, hey, listen, wheels up. I know at 10:15 you're out, but your leadership, and I get it. You're not a vocal guy, even if it's your practice tempo. Like, it's going to be important.
Yeah, I didn't see him and Keenan yesterday though.
No,
or Wednesday.
We'll take a break.
Yeah,
you got one. You got one more.
Yeah,
There's a lot of offers going up. We need to talk about.
Yeah.
Ravi's curious.
Okay.
What am I curious about?
Temperament. recruiting the
yeah.
quality
The early
kids.
offers.
Yeah.
The early offers are interesting to me. We'll get into that next. That's DB. That's Mike Sautter. I'm Ravi Lulla here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and we're brought to you by the Team Jack Foundation. Get over to teamjackfoundation.org to get involved today. You can donate directly on the page. You can volunteer. You can find what events they're involved in, and you can see where all your efforts are being directed with their projects page. Lets you know everything that they're helping to fund and work on towards the goal of finding better treatments for childhood brain cancer and one day a cure. That's teamjackfoundation.org. Mike Sautter back here with us for a second segment, and wanted to get into a bunch of early offers coming out. We got freshmen and sophomores getting offers, and we can get into the specifics if you want, but I keep having this recurring thought the more of these young guy offers go out, right? And it used to be kind of a one-off. You'd see it nationally every once in a while, like Lane Kiffin's offering an 8th grader or whatever. And I just keep wondering to myself how those early offers affect the guys that receive them, right? Because certain guys are wired away where they keep grinding because they haven't got the thing they think they deserve.
Oh,
yet.
you mean each particular how they handle it?
Yes. And then you have some where it's like, oh man, I'm 15. I got this offer. I must be good.
Well, it's up to those guys to figure out how much the guys like being recruited and how much they like playing.
It's also the outside influence part of it is your expectation level goes through the roof.
Right. Yeah.
Like
some guys aren't ready for that.
Pressure or whatever. If you want to call it pressure.
That's a good point.
I mean, look, frankly, like look at Damon Hall. Like he got an offer freshman year, he's super early, like had a nice year, and then it kind of was like, oh, like I think the pressure, like I think there was a lot of pressure there.
You know, it's funny. I said that. So I said that this last week, but that's why I like AJ because he's so relentless in like the pursuit of getting his flowers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No,
like he's gonna stay on the gas.
Yeah,
like you don't have to. You know what I mean?
Like there's some guys like they get early offers right, and they think they've made it.
Yeah,
and Amarion Jackson.
Yeah, that's AJ's Amarion Jackson.
Yeah,
and then there's some guys.
Sorry.
Yeah,
sorry, Amarion.
People might not know.
Yeah,
it's fine to call him AJ. Just, you know.
And then there's some guys that get their offers and then they go, okay, well, why don't I have more? Why don't I have this school? How come this guy doesn't want me?
Keeps you motivated.
And they keep going, and those guys are, I think, inherently wired differently.
That's kind of how Christian is.
And at 14, 15 years old, when you're offering some of these young guys, I'm interested how they. I mean, maybe they offer them partially because they're like, hey, we like the physical upside, but like, I'm curious how you handle this.
It's because you know what we don't know, and we talk about it like we do, unless you really know the kid. Some kids really want just an offer from a particular school.
Yeah.
Some want anywhere.
Just any Division I
Some
offer.
want as many as they can get.
Yeah.
Right. The rack it up as many as you can get is a little scary.
Yeah, because those are typically the ones that
like being recruited.
Yeah.
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 I also can see it though as validation of like, yeah, everybody should want me.
So I would, if you're talking about someone of a certain maturity, you have to be very mature for that.
The people that talk about it publicly are the ones that are you need to be a little dicey with.
Yeah.
But yes, like internally you should, I don't know, for me, I take, people saying I can't do something as extreme motivation.
So, like I know, but he's right though, because I like in our house it was no junior tape. Don't do me any favors. I'm gonna go out and earn this the next year. Right. So I
and
get
the people that weren't on him had a
Yeah.
hard time being late to the party.
Oh, I know.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Some good programs
Yeah.
that were late to the party.
Yeah.
He's like, no, we're good here. Thank you.
So when's the last time you've seen a run like this at a particular school like we're having at Millard South?
Well,
I almost did the numbers in my head the other day. It's
the depth of it.
Yeah.
Is that what you mean? Yeah.
Because Jensen's 26. Amarion's 26. Lofton's 25.
Tamal is going to be in that conversation.
Van Segren's 26 or 7.
7. Yeah.
That's
He must have camped really well at Lindenwood.
well, he's a big
He
kid.
is. I know, but that helped him.
I mean,
that's why you go to Lindenwood. Like, if you think you're, whatever, and you're
one of those guys,
and you don't have anything, you're not getting anything.
I think Elijah Wayne pulled like 3 offers out of there.
Yeah, Elijah Wayne pulled some offers out of there.
He's got a big weekend this week to get on Nebraska's radar.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I know Coach Barthel and those guys are looking forward to him coming down.
Yeah, is that tonight? Yeah, I won't be there.
How many of these guys, like, we've seen a lot of, whether it's Braylon Warren getting the Iowa State offer, or like Nebraska's not always the first on a lot of these guys.
Mm-hmm.
How many of them, because I know that used to be the thing, right, is, oh man, waiting on the Nebraska offer. Whether you were going to end up going there or not, it was the value.
I think some kids thought it was going to be a springboard to other offers.
Right.
But now it's not like that
Some
anymore.
kids use it as a springboard.
So I guess how many of the kids now care about the Nebraska offer in the way that we used to?
I think a lot more care than we think, because I think the perception is that Nebraska is eventually going to be pretty good.
Gonna come up,
so they want to get in.
Yeah. I think
do you get that sense?
Yeah. I feel like that is it. I also think, and I'm kind of on a crusade to change the narrative if I can, of just because Nebraska didn't offer you doesn't mean you're not a good player.
Yeah, because they are going to be. Yeah,
they're going to be picky.
They're not going to be pressured.
Or just because Nebraska wasn't first doesn't mean they don't know you, or know
doesn't
your
mean
name,
they don't want you,
or don't know about you.
Yeah,
like just because they weren't first. Now, if they weren't 7th, maybe have a conversation. But
yeah,
it's just because they weren't first. Like, people commented with Braylon Warren the other day. I'm like, calm down. Like,
plus,
it's okay.
Nebraska's got 6. They got 6 offers to quarterbacks in
right
2027 already.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's
you have Latif.
They've been busy
next year. Like
it's that's the thing.
I don't think that
quarterback recruiting is so
think they'll
different.
feel that pressure, because quarterbacks are.
It's so
what he
different.
just said.
Yeah,
quarterbacks are different.
It's such a different conversation,
and it's kind of unfortunate,
right?
And you basically just get to take one a class. I know this year was different.
That's why I was so mad about Anthony.
Yeah,
I'm like, really? Again, this guy will go down historically as one of the greatest leaders I've ever coached.
Well, now you have the conversation of, oh, geez, his backup who barely played got an offer. Like, he couldn't.
No, I'm not starting that. I'm not starting that.
I think that again, you go to the years are different. Timing
that
is
doesn't
different.
even. And I know both of them better than almost anyone.
Yes, that doesn't register.
That doesn't even creep into my.
Well, and it also doesn't for their family either. They don't care. So
it's like, it's apples and oranges.
The year again, like, you have 3 years, so you can you want to get ahead on this one, right, or whatever it may be. It's just that's going to be a conversation. It's going to be another knock on.
It's going to be a dumb conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not. I wouldn't get involved in that.
Back to the original question, Miller South. I don't know if you've seen,
and I know I'm forgetting a couple.
Yeah, but I don't know if you've seen linemen. Bellevue West recently was the wide receivers, right? And then you had 2-3 guys. I mean, last year they had 2 receivers and a quarterback, and you don't see the depth of it that Millard South has right now. Now, Lofton, for example, Millard South, that happened before.
When is that? North,
but still, you don't see that collection.
Has he gotten any new offers since?
I don't think so. Just visited Missouri last weekend. So
Drink's been busy.
Yeah,
because I know
pretty well.
I know Drink just offered Jensen.
Yeah. Jensen's a guy that, again, younger guy. We'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I just said it. He's 26.
27. 6,
I think Jensen's 26.
Yeah, 6. Because, that's right. There's a lot. The numbers getting up there that high on the late 20s is making me feel some type of old.
I don't feel great about it. I don't feel great about it.
It's Ravi brought up the mentality. Like, I think it's just a different. It would be. It's not a recruiting like Tyson Terry and Christian Jones and
Those
even
dudes
AJ
are
and some of these guys. Some of these kids are just different.
Yeah.
They're more not just gonna like bow down isn't the word, but they're not just gonna be like, oh, like they're like, okay, what's next? Like there's just kind of
pretty mature kids.
Very much so.
Like
very, very much so.
And the Amarian Jackson thing, and I just keep going back to the Xavier Watts conversation when Xavier Watts, by the way, got his master's degree from Notre Dame.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty good.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
like if you know that dude and that family, like
he's amazing.
And if you know Notre Dame, like that's like getting a master's from Notre Dame is a big deal for anybody.
Didn't pay a dime. He must have been a pretty good football player.
How much do you think?
That's all I'm saying.
How much do you think the ability to want to do something else matters when young guys get offers? Because sometimes they're banking on playing the long game, and it might not be what you're currently playing.
Yeah, you should. It's delicate. You're not going to want to. The long game part is the.
But you're playing it when you offer young guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be.
Right?
You got to really
Nebraska
trust
can't have. They can't have 16 tight end types on their roster without.
Yeah. You got to really trust your eyes.
Isn't that the natural extension of what we've seen from them offering these off the radar guys though?
Well, I was going to be in the same boat. These kids, like you get Iowa offers, like be prepared to like they're playing the long game with you. Like it may not be exactly what you're doing right now.
Michael Burt is a great example of long game. He's not going to play as a freshman. Yeah. Like he's not going to play right away. But watch in like 3 years, you'll be like, oh yeah, remember Michael Burt?
Oh yeah, he's pretty good now. Yeah. That's Mike Sautter from Hurrdat Sports. He's got to get off and running, but we appreciate him stopping by early today. DB and I will be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio. Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We are now also on KFOR in Lincoln for this 9 o'clock hour. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla, and we're brought to you by the Nebraska Alumni Association. And they've got, what are we giggling about over here?
Nothing. Just nothing.
I'm not an alumni, but this one over here is.
Who, him?
Maybe, I don't know. Well, he's from Northwest Missouri State. He's a Bearcat.
And don't forget Walnut Hill.
Walt Hill.
That him too.
Walt Hill.
Walt Hill, Nebraska, named after Walt Hill.
Walnut Hill is an elementary school in Omaha.
But we're talking about Nebraska Alumni Association because they're putting together a travel package for the Nebraska USC game this year in November. Go to huskerfantravel.com to see the different packages they have to offer, but it's going to include 2 or 3 nights in a hotel in downtown LA, exclusive welcome events. You've got game day transportation. You have a pregame party, the official Husker Huddle pregame party, and you can even get your tickets through those packages as well. That's huskerfantravel.com. Get there and get your trip plan to USC in November. Wanted to touch on a couple things that
long game.
The long game's interesting here, right?
It is. It really is.
I actually think it is the natural extension of what we've already started to see from their recruiting with going after these under-the-radar guys, these guys that they don't care if they've got any other offers or not, that they like this mold or these measurables that they hit, and they're like, hey, we can turn that guy into the kind of player that we need to win. It's the exact same thing you're doing with young guys and when you're playing the long game. Now, there's more variables when the younger they are. I get that. But all you're doing is seeing a prototype, projecting to the finished product, right? It's the exact same model as what we've already seen them been doing, but they're doing it now in a way that lets you get in on higher end players. The earlier you offer someone, the better chance you have with them generally.
Okay, let me ask you something. So do you think this, because you said something about baseball that brings me back to this football discussion where you said that I think the baseball talent has outgrown the university.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
the top end, yes.
Okay. So in football, are we going to get away from the late senior evals, do you think, overall, as the talent increases because so many other schools are offering early, right? We just mentioned K-State, Missouri. Iowa State, Iowa. None of the guys that we talked about, except for Lofton, who I don't want to be disrespectful, I don't think has any new offers since he's transferred to Millard South.
Mhm.
All the rest of the guys are 26 and beyond that are getting offers. Will that change Nebraska's strategy or will you just now get the late occasional senior eval?
I think you'll get the occasional one because, and here's why I think that. This doesn't seem like a staff that's going to miss anything. And if you've got a guy that pops late, they're going to be on that guy.
Yeah.
Right? They're not going to be like, well, that's not really how our process works. So if you pop late or if you're a late bloomer or whatever, no. That they're going to find value where they can find value. And late bloomers, there's a ton of value there because a lot of teams do operate that way. They're like, hey, you weren't on our schedule, so you're not on our radar.
Yeah, because my buddy Jeff just asked, he's like, well, what about your boy? And I to DM him, who's my boy? And he's talking about Donovan Jones. And I was like, I mean, I get it. I get late, but the minute they saw him in person,
it was a done deal.
It was a done deal.
Yeah.
So, like, if Nebraska's here 2 years ago, then
he probably gets.
Then Donovan probably runs. He goes down as a sophomore.
Goes to a camp and does the
right.
thing
Like
and
so. So I don't know if he's a great example.
No,
but I get it because it looked like it was.
Oh, hey, late senior offer.
A later offer because the season hadn't started yet. But if they were here 2 years earlier, he would have camped earlier.
Just knowing how they operate and how they don't skip steps, they
right.
If
Anthony camps there as a sophomore,
he probably gets an offer.
He gets an offer.
Yeah. Or if he camps there as a junior,
or
if he
Teddy,
camps there,
or whomever, right?
Anytime at all.
So I don't. That's going to be interesting because you will have guys though, because
there'll be fewer.
We're clearly behind in some degree in the state with number of football reps.
Yes.
Right, with other schools around the country.
Yeah, some guys are playing year round. Like that's just how it is. Like Texas, it's a year round thing now. You don't. But that also kind of lends itself to how this staff evaluates. They don't necessarily evaluate on finished product. They evaluate on, hey, we can turn you into this.
Isn't that funny how he's my guy? Like I have a son. Like how's he my guy?
Yeah. Like I thought he meant when he said your boy. I thought he meant literally your boy.
That's what I thought.
Like your progeny. Like I thought he meant.
I get it. I am a fan,
but I also think that they're not going to allow themselves to miss on someone that is good if they pop late. Like they're going to be watching. There might not be a lot of them, and they may get most of them before they get to that stage. But if you have a late bloomer, I would be stunned if this staff is not doing their due diligence to get that guy.
Yeah.
Like that just doesn't seem like how they operate, right?
And I also I can't see them offering just because other schools did either.
No, especially
if it's in state.
Yeah, and especially because I think they do have a degree of trust from the state right now. And we talked about this the other day, right? Most of the reason, and especially because of how many guys are Power 5 caliber right now, it's way higher than it has been in certain stretches in the past, right? A part of the reason there used to be so much consternation when, there was a D1 caliber guy and Nebraska didn't offer or didn't go after him hard or whatever, is there just weren't that many. And so it felt like the staff didn't value the state, right? That's what it really was. It's not ever about an individual guy. It's not ever about it's to me, it's always been
just protecting the endangered species. Is that what
no? I mean,
well, we only have a couple.
No,
we need to cherish them.
Right? Yeah, and that's not really what I was saying.
Okay, I'm just getting clarity. I'm not.
No, I know. So what I mean is when there's only a couple of them, to show that you care and value high school football in the state, you kind of have to offer those guys. When there's a dozen of them, you can offer 8 of them. And you've shown that you've done your work and you value the state. And and that's what I think people in Nebraska really want. They want to know that the people who are running their football program at the university care about their state and their high school football as much as we do, right? If you've got 10, 12, 14 guys that are going to go Division I and play possible Power 5 football, and you offer 9 of them, but not all 14, people are totally cool with that because they know you did your due diligence to offer the 9.
How much does the fact that you think they have so many camps for exposure give them some grace too?
Oh, 100%.
Because it's got to be a ton.
Because
they're giving you every opportunity,
and it's an investment in the people of the state, right? Same thing when we see Ed Foley out there taking pictures at every high school in the state. It shows the people, hey, we care about this. We care just as much as you do. We value it the same way you do. Whereas if you've got a staff that can't find the high school down the street, and they don't offer the one or two guys, you're like, oh, they don't value us in any real way.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is the difference. Like, you're allowed some leeway if you've gained the equity of like, oh no, we know they care, right? Because we're assuming the best out of them because they've given us no reason not to.
Yeah, because all those guys they mentioned, or that we mentioned, aren't. I mean, Elijah Wayne is 2025.
Mm-hmm.
Terry's 2025. He's already committed. Lofton's 25.
I mean, we haven't even talked about Vermoss, who's committed to 25.
25. Well. Mooberry.
He's not committed, but he's got the offer.
Which is kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless I missed it. But, I mean, could be. I don't know. I don't have any problems with, Lord knows, I'm not going to be a hypocrite. I mean, take your time.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I wonder if he's
kind of overlooked, come to think of it. It took us 3. I don't know if we brought him up in 3 weeks.
No, I don't think we have. But it's also, I wonder with Mooberry if he thinks stylistic changes at Millard North will let him have some senior tape that changes things for him.
Oh, that's a good point. And I mean, when you're in on, Jones and Merritt.
Yeah.
I mean,
so I wonder if,
although I wouldn't be, and look at me, it's easy because you came in with a bunch of defensive backs, but I don't know if I would let that sway me. It just depends on who you are.
Depends who you are, and it also maybe he thinks he's a better tight end than he thinks he's a defensive player.
You know what? And I've never asked him
because he's incredible. Like, his ball skills are really good.
Oh, listen, that's what I talk about.
Yeah, I know.
I don't even talk about his defense.
That's the first thing I noticed about him when he was a sophomore. I was like, oh, like this guy goes out in high points.
Yeah.
Like he goes and gets the ball. He's a big
frame that
kid.
Would be interesting.
Like maybe he thinks he's a tight end. He's like, hey, let me get some tape.
And I wouldn't have any problems with him betting on himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I would cheer
And I don't know. I'm speculating here.
I know, me too. But I would cheer for that.
Yeah, 100%. And he goes, hey, we're going to run a little different offense. Maybe I'm going to get some more targets in the passing game. I think I'm better as a tight end, maybe. Like, let's give this thing a shot.
So that's interesting. Now, if you're playing the stats game, and
I don't even know if it's. Sorry, go ahead.
If you're playing the stats game and want opportunities, you better be on a team where you can be showcased.
Mm-hmm.
Because
you're making a bet there.
Yeah.
But I wonder if it's less about stats and more about film, right? Like because he's only got a handful of.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Film on offense.
That's a good point because, statistically, it may not pop.
Yeah, but if you can see here's 10, 15, 20 plays over the course of a season.
I'm with you there.
And you go, oh, God, that's good film. Or you can even see him just running more routes, right? Like, you're not necessarily talking about catching, but you're like, oh, man, he's constantly beating his guy. He's running these routes nice and crisp. You can see him play inline. You can see him played split out wide.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there was a variety of things that he just wasn't going to get to do offensively under Coach Petito. And maybe he's just like, let's just see what it looks like if I get to do some of these other things.
Yeah, I still wonder wwho's going to take snaps.
Yeah, we'll find out.
I mean, I don't have to worry about that at any point.
No, I know.
So this my job.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how I try to approach it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that part's going to be interesting.
Yeah,
because I'm serious. Like, if you go and we keep rosters of the teams that we play against, just so we can get an idea who's coming back, and then obviously you pit it against the transfer list and all that. And high school's different because kids don't play and all of a sudden do play. So it's not rule of thumb, but
it's
the starting quarterbacks, it's going to be interesting for all the other talent that's in the state.
Yeah, Circo didn't do them any favors.
It's not by going to Florida.
Yeah, because that was the guy they're counting on, right?
Yeah.
He didn't do them any favors.
Yeah, there's just not a lot of proven,
known commodities.
Really known commodities.
Yeah. So it's going to be really interesting because it's obviously there's opportunities there for people to pop.
And you hear a lot of names, and I always pit it against what I actually experience,
Mhm.
and who I've seen and who I'm watching in 7-on-7 or passing league in the Metro, like I get people will throw out names, but I don't really know about like what I think is going to be high end power 4 quarterback play. Like that's still out there. I mean, shoot, Jed has 2 more years. I think he's only going to be a junior.
Yeah, he's at 26.
Right?
Yeah, I just looked it up because I couldn't remember.
Is Anderson 25?
I'm not sure.
When did he come over from Miller West?
I'm not sure.
Like some of these guys like have a couple of years.
Yeah.
At the quarterback spot.
And that's kind of the one spot too. Like I know that we had Flores and Kalen in back-to-back years, but that's kind of the one spot Nebraska hasn't produced a ton of high school talent at is the quarterback spot, right? Now,
even though you've had tremendous play.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah, like Anthony's a great example, right?
Stick was great. Glance was great.
Yeah, you've had guys go be successful other places.
Rizak was fantastic. I mean,
but usually they were either so like you have guys going up to play FCS ball and be really, really good, right? Or like Noah Walters goes down to North Alabama, or you got Rizak walking on at Notre Dame, or I don't know. This goes a little ways back, but you got like Jake Waters ends up at Kansas State, and I think he's the Iowa State OC or QB coach or something now. So you've got these guys that kind of end up places because they're good, but they're not kind of recruited at this level that all these other guys are now, right?
Mm-hmm.
We don't hear them talked about. Even Jet, who, it sounds like has a chance to kind of grow into that type of prospect. Like right now, as a 26, we're seeing all these 26 offers go out. Jet's not really being talked about in that way. And, it's probably a wait and see to see how he develops for some of these guys. But that's kind of the one spot where you're like, we haven't seen a lot there.
Yeah, he's got
in terms of people valuing him.
He's got an ideal chance too.
Yeah, he's going to have all the weapons in the world.
And you know what? Like if I don't know his temper, like I don't know, like his personality, but if he's like an I'll prove it guy,
then that could be dangerous,
right?
For everybody else, I mean,
yeah, it could be highly motivated.
If he's like, hey, let me show you, right?
Because I think their offensive temperament, I think they're going to want to stick it to people, so they'll have
opportunities.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the closest I know to knowing his personality is I played pickleball with his dad once. But
is he competitive too?
Yeah, he was pretty good. He was a cool guy.
Well, if that's they'll want to.
Yeah,
they'll want to make a mark.
Oh, 100%. Well, and especially right because people talk about it, they're like, oh man, they're going out getting all these guys and whatever. Like they're in prove it mode. They got to prove it. You got all the guys. You got to go prove it. That's how it is. That's the it's what Coach Rule talks about, right? It's the privilege of pressure. Like if you don't have any pressure on you, it's because nobody expects anything of you.
Yeah.
Right?
How who 2 schools I think are in an interesting spot because they're kind of laying in the cut.
Who's that?
Bellevue West.
Okay.
And North.
Bellevue West is kind of retooled a little bit.
Like
in how they go about their business.
Very interesting spot.
Am I right?
They're kind of the in what regard?
In kind of how they're going about their business. It seems like
Bellevue West you don't see
recalibrated a little bit.
Much quieter.
Yeah. They were loud for a couple years there.
And you just like they're going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Because they have some good pieces. I'm a big Whaley guy.
Mm-hmm.
They like the little speedster outside. People like, they like their quarterback.
I'll say the quarterback play will be one of the variables that they need to needs to pop for them.
And I'm curious about North. Because Central is getting a lot of the run now
because they got the young guy offers and they're on the come up and got like Haney and all those guys.
So I'll be like, are those guys? Because sometimes when you get coaches like that are just kind of surly by nature anyway, that's really all they need.
Yeah, you just need a little bit to
because if you have the kids that will take on that temperament. It can work.
Yeah,
I've seen Larry
they'll mimic the personality of the head coach.
He's very good at that. And they had a little bit of an exodus at North.
Yeah.
So
that's where Circo
and he's not from. Well, they lost a handful.
Yeah, but
I asked Mitchell and Glassman and they lost a ton. So I'll be like that should be what I would think is an edgy bunch.
Yeah. little chip on the shoulder.
Yeah, and I think Bellevue West will be the same way.
That'll be interesting because that's an area.
And Bellevue West, I think, opens with Central.
That's an area at Bellevue West where not everybody would have described him as that way in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
as edgy.
Yeah, I kind of revamped the staff a little bit.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see because it's easy to forget now, but not that long ago, Bellevue West scared the daylights out of everybody. Everybody. I mean, was it 19 we talked about as one of the best teams in state history?
Yeah.
Like, that's not that long ago.
Everybody.
This is
exactly.
Huffman was still there in 19. It's the same guy.
Is he Trev, or is he back to being Trev yet?
No, Trevor.
Everybody.
Did it scare you with what Dannon talked about yesterday?
Not really. Not really.
Really?
I mean,
We will embrace it.
maybe it's because I didn't take it. I took it with a grain of salt.
Not panic mode, just, oh, this is informative.
Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't feel. I want you to be proud. I didn't take it as necessary. Like, I assumed they needed more money. You're gonna have more expenses. You need more money. I get that. I'm not sitting there because I know the reality of the athletic department is in way better financial shape than almost any other athletic department in the country. So I know that for a fact, right? So I start from there, right? In not panicking about the finances of, and I get we're talking about not just the athletic department, but the collectives and things like that too, right? But so I start from the fact that I know Nebraska is in a fiscally really good spot in the athletic department proper.
Mm-hmm.
I also start from the spot that I know, yep, they're going to need more money because we got more expenses now.
You know what we should do? We should see if we could get a sit down.
With Dannon?
Yeah, you know what we should do?
What's that?
I think we should find a way to partner with 1890.
I think that's a great idea.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, we help them. They help us. Why not?
That's fine.
Especially in Omaha.
Yeah. They could use a little help here. I don't know if you know this. People in Omaha have money.
Yeah.
Start noodling about that a little bit.
I think, yeah.
Well, because so here's the reality of the situation, right? Is 1890 and every collective in the country has to pivot now.
Yeah.
Right? What they were doing before is no longer what their purpose is going to serve. Because now what they were doing before is being taken over by the university. That doesn't mean they don't serve a purpose. Maybe we should have Matt on too to talk about this because I think this is interesting.
Yeah.
And
anything to help the university, pretty much.
Yeah. So what 1890 and every other collective in the country, their job now is going to be acting as basically an athlete marketing agency, right?
Yeah.
And so
that's a good,
because that's the only thing they're allowed to pay them for now.
Yep.
Is actual marketing opportunities. So in order to do that, they have to be able to pivot from just collecting money to being able to collect money and then deliver things to the people that they're collecting money from. It's no longer just, hey, let's write blank checks and say, you can pay this guy and you can pay that guy. And we don't have to worry about it's like, you send out a tweet and we're all good here, bud. Like, you're going to have to deliver things to people that are investing in your athletes because two of the requirements of the NCAA ruling,
as the legislature read day before yesterday,
and the settlement with House versus NCAA is you have to have market value, which you can fudge a little bit because your market value in Lincoln,
it's fairly subjective.
Yeah, it's fluid, right? Yeah. But you have to be able to establish that, and two, you have to actually deliver on that market value. It can't just be like, yes, this guy is worth X amount of money, we can pay him that. They have to be able to deliver it.
Yeah.
And so the pivot, and I think this all starts next year, right? 2025 is when we're going hot and heavy into this new world of college football where your athletic department has a payroll for athletes now. The job between now and then for 1890, for every collective in the country, is going to be able to figure out how to build that out.
Yeah, because you still need them, and you need them.
You 100% need them. You might need them now more than ever.
Right. That's the thing.
But what they need now, what collective need now more than ever, is to be ahead of the marketing game. So if you can create a partnership so that you don't have to build that from the ground up with expertise that you don't currently have, and you can go to someone and be like, hey, you're already great at this.
Yeah.
Let's be friends.
Yeah, that's
Then you all of a sudden shot to the top of the table.
and
That's how
it's
things get done.
it is exactly. And
If you can marry those two things,
well,
you all of a sudden are the best collective in the country.
you got a noodle?
I can noodle.
About to.
We've got more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla.
I got to get back to you. We got some things.
We're here
Do I need
on
to come back?
AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN
got this?
Tri-Cities, and KFOR in Lincoln. We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla on the Pillar Exterior stage, and we're brought to you by Union Omaha. Make sure you get to unionomaha.com to get tickets. They've got another match coming up on June 13th. That's Thursday coming up here, and they will be getting after it against Spokane, 7 p.m. at Warner Park. Immediately following the game, they will also have their Special Olympics Unified Series match presented by Leonard Management as well. Make sure you get out to unionomaha.com to get your tickets. So apparently there were two giant things that happened yesterday. Well, I don't know if giant. There are two big things that happened yesterday in the world of sports. We sort of started talking about one of them there in terms of the new role of revenue generating in college football and the NCAA in general.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that was approved yesterday to help schools generate revenue was on-field logos.
Oh,
what is that noise?
I don't know, man.
Do you care?
Yes and no.
Okay, why? Let's hear both sides here.
So I care if I just don't want to see the red end go away.
Okay, I don't think there's any chance that would happen.
Okay, well then.
I think here's the worst case scenario for the midfield logo. Worst case scenario. You know how in the Rose Bowl you've got the giant rose, and then it says presented by AT&T or whatever. That's the worst case scenario for the midfield.
So, but outside of that, and listen.
So is that a yes or no? You're out on that?
I would probably be out.
Okay,
but it wouldn't.
Like the end's still there.
Like I'm not gonna like not go.
Just in little script, it goes presented by.
So outside of that, I'm okay.
Whatever.
No, like just put Hurrdat Sports or
on the sideline logos.
Above the 20s.
Which they're gonna have those too. I'm sure those are getting sold. 100%. Those are happening.
Yeah.
Right. You're gonna have.
I don't have any problems.
It's basically in the same spot that at Creighton. They've got the FNBO logos.
Don't touch the helmet, and I'm good. Or give me a little sticker in the back.
What about jersey? Do you care about a jersey patch? Because jersey patches are coming.
No, I don't. Nope. I'm not that dumb.
I just don't like. I get not wanting the end to go away in the midfield. I get it. I don't care if they put presented by Hurrdat Sports or whoever wants to write that check. That doesn't bother me at all. We see it all the time. I think after a little bit we wouldn't even notice anymore. Mm-hmm. I don't care about the jersey patches. I don't.
Have you been to Ann Arbor?
No, I have not been to Ann Arbor.
It's a really, really clean look. Really clean. There's not 1 ounce of advertising in that stadium. I wonder if a school like I don't know, man.
Their endowment's insane too.
So like
they're like Harvard, Stanford level of endowment.
They've prided themselves on not,
But here's the thing, right? If you're going to go down that road and stand on your principles and whatever, that's fine. It's going to cost you.
I'm not.
No, but in general, like the general
like
you.
If you're Michigan?
The general you. If you're Michigan, if you're whoever who thinks, hey, this is our brand. It is too important. And I'm not saying this is a bad thing, right? But if you're like, hey, this is our brand, it is too important to put a logo on it, to do whatever, to do this, that, and that.
This is kind of where I'm at. If it helps Nebraska and it's within the rules, do it.
That's my point.
Do it.
Why would you?
It's not about. I'll get over it.
You'll figure it out.
I'll get over it.
Why would you purposely put yourself in a more difficult position when it doesn't? Like, there's things that matter, right? Because I had this question. I've been thinking about this question all week. Whether it's because we got the NFL schedule and we've got Wednesday night games. People are going to be playing on like 2 days rest.
Listen,
in the NFL.
Yeah, Shane's Kansas City Chiefs, I believe, play on every day of the week.
That's not true.
Yeah, Shane's his favorite team, Kansas City Chiefs. No, they do play on every day of the week, I think. Shane, that's not That's accurate. But so whether
what's not true, the every day of the week thing,
Yeah.
it is true.
Yeah, the every day of the week thing.
But so there's things that do matter that I think are
This
bad
dude acts
for
like he's not a Chiefs fan.
plays a lot of Mahomes cuts, not be a Chiefs fan.
No big deal.
You serious, Shane?
Well, he's everywhere. I mean, he's the most Is he not the most marketable person in the world right now?
I don't know.
I don't know. What I do
Who else
know,
is?
it doesn't. Shane, we're not talking about that right now. It doesn't matter.
Let me ask you something.
Well, real quick. So there's things that do matter in terms of like, hey, we're compromising this for money, and things like playing on 2 days rest. Like that's a thing that matters. That maybe like we shouldn't be compromising that for money. And then there's things that don't, like patches on the jerseys. Like that doesn't hurt anything. I get that like it's an aesthetic and people don't like it.
At what point?
But it doesn't hurt the game.
Okay. At what point do you compromise that and sell alcohol at the stadium?
I think they should have already.
Okay, because can you have one conversation without the other?
No, you
if you're
can't.
talking about another revenue stream,
You cannot have that. Those are all the same conversation.
Shane, who's the beer people that have the corn?
Oh, that's 1890. The Cornhead Lager?
No, it looks like corn.
Oh, Bush. I think Bush has the corn cans.
I gotta Google. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah, I think Bush has, because I think it's an Iowa thing more than a Nebraska thing.
Oh,
but
is it?
It's for the farmers.
But they've got a can that looks like a corn cob.
Could that be at midfield?
Sure, why not?
That's the kind of stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, 100%. And I get that people don't like it.
But
does that hurt the game?
We'd have to seriously get over ourselves.
We would, but because
I don't know. Once you open it up, though, I mean, and the floodgates.
Floodgates to what though? That's advertising isn't a sin. Like it doesn't matter.
I mean, you don't
advertising doesn't compromise the integrity of the game in any way.
But you don't want it to be like NASCAR where there's 97.
Shoot, man, my guy, John, he's on it.
Why not? Who cares?
He just said the same.
Who cares if it looks like NASCAR or an Arena League jersey or like Europe? Look at
now he says Bush for $1 billion. That's weird. We were thinking the same thing.
But like
they're not paying a bit.
No.
If they did, they're doing that yesterday.
Yeah,
they just be like, Coach,
you never have to worry about money again ever.
Yeah,
so you want everything to look like NASCAR?
I don't care. I don't care. Like English Premier League
just
soccer.
Because he talks loud, don't be afraid. Shane.
English Premier League soccer teams don't even have their name on the front of their jersey. They don't. It says whatever their advertiser is. They get a little patch. The little patch on their jersey is their logo, not the advertisements. Everything else is ads. Like I'm used to this. I don't care because it doesn't affect the football. You start doing things like you want to get me mad about stuff and be like, okay, playing on like Wednesday nights without having a bye week before that, that's stupid. That affects football.
And looking like NASCAR, that's stupid.
It doesn't matter. It literally does not affect anything except for what's your thing? Does it help the university?
Yeah,
it does. You know why? Because you need money to do things. That's how capitalism works. You need money to do the things you want to do. If Nebraska wants to do the things they want to do, they need money. And if they have to look like NASCAR to do it, then stupid. Sign me up, bud.
And it looks stupid.
You know what looks stupid? Going bankrupt because you want to sell ads.
I just remember the outrage for like tinkering with a logo on the white pants or the patch on a jersey.
The bleep over it.
This is Nebraska. I'm just saying.
Good reason.
Shane, don't you dare give in to a bully.
I'm just saying change is.
He's talking about principle. You're talking about principle. You just stand on your own business.
Stand on your ground. Keep tradition.
What is tradition? What has tradition won in Nebraska in the last 10 years? What has tradition won in Nebraska in the last 10 years?
Oh, so you're going to sell out?
That's not. You need money to operate.
So you're going to sell out.
Selling out to what?
Whatever you want to sell to.
Yeah, because Nebraska. Yeah, let's pretend like Nebraska doesn't have advertisements in the stadium already. Let's pretend like there's not a logo every time something comes up on that screen.
So in your sphere of influence, are you nobody would care? Do what you want.
I have no idea.
Are you put it on the field and not the jerseys? Put it on the jerseys and not where do you think that? So my thing is, I would think that the fan base would be least receptive to anything on the uniforms.
Probably. I think that
mark the field up all you want.
I think the big red N in the middle is number one. I think people agree with you there. Don't mess with the big red N in the middle. I think anything else on the field they'd be okay with. I think.
When did we take Tom Osborne off the field?
No one knows. You know why? Because people don't notice those things. You can put FNBO on the field or Hurrdat Sports on the field or whatever else on the field or High V on the field. And guess what?
FNBO, they're a monster.
I mean, I'm just doing that because I see it on the Creighton court all the time.
Yeah.
And guess what? Nobody cares. When's the last time you ever be like, oh, God, that court's so ugly with all those logos on it? Never. Not a single GD time. No one cares.
Yeah, maybe not in your sphere of influence.
Not in anybody's sphere of influence. And if you are, then like find better problems, man. If that's the biggest worry in your life, like God bless you. You're living good. If your biggest worry is a logo on
Daniel chimes in. We got to get back to that.
We got Vrzal coming up next. I'm sure he'll have some thoughts on some things. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio. We are wrapping up the show here on a Friday, wrapping up your week on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. We are joined now by the one and only Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Paisan's Pizzeria. Matty, what's going on, bud?
Not much, dudes. We up to?
Matthew, how we doing?
You're above the dirt. Just celebrating the USA Cricket World Championship.
Wait, we won that thing?
We did. We beat Pakistan.
It was
Suck it.
One of the biggest. Hey,
we're the best.
It's
You're 50. Who says that?
I'm not 50. I'm 49, Damon. You're 50.
Wow, this dude said.
Boy, hey man, world champs is world champs. That's all I'm saying.
I tell you what, boy, you'll say anything, won't you?
That's a big one.
Yeah, considered... like that TikTok I sent you.
Yeah, I couldn't play it out loud, and then when I did, I had to turn it back down. That's fine. I mean, that's totally you. I should. Yeah, you know what? I want to send it out, but I can't because of all the expletives. But well, you're a piece of.
Oh no, people don't use those words.
Okay, here we go. Wow.
Hey, you know what's stupid? You know what's stupid right now?
What? Besides you,
like the WNBA, and I've been a fan. I like women's basketball. Like my sister played, and then that was back when like Nebraska high school basketball was kind of like it is now. It's like really good. Like Charlie Rogers and all those gals from South Sioux City were way good.
Yeah,
it was fun to watch. How does the WNBA not build this like Magic and Larry? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I don't care about the hard fouls. I don't care about all that stuff. Women are jealous and petty and all that stuff. I get it. But if the WNBA markets that way, because you're in a league that loses money every year. You've never made money. Never once. You've been subsidized by the NBA the whole time. But if you would just market this thing better, I think you have must-watch TV, like, all the time.
So
and it's mind-boggling.
Who do you want? Who do you want to be the villain?
Oh, you gotta go Angel Reese.
Oh, here we go.
Because she's about that. You can pick anybody. You can pick anybody you want.
She did just get ejected.
Like the NBA when we were kids, Damon, their championship was shown on tape delay.
No, I know.
It wasn't even live. Like this is an opportunity. Like you have mega stars in the making. That truth be told, I know Magic and Larry like each other, but these two guys don't like each other.
See, that's the thing, like with the league, they
didn't start out liking each other. Like Magic and Larry didn't start liking each other either.
Fair. But when they met each other and then they started shooting all the promos, they did.
Yeah, they became great friends. But like they started off pretty adversarial too.
You know what's funny about that is that the league's got to figure out. This is what my gripe was: is the league's got to figure out. They've always had good players. They've never had a super. They've never had a celebrity.
Yeah, like a mainstream celebrity.
They've got a celebrity now.
Right. And I mean, look at MJ when he first came in the league. I'm not drawing that comparison. I'm not saying Clark is MJ. But he got fouled hard. He got beat up. But there was no, it was just like, hey, man, this is it. Deal with it, big dog. Fix your game. They did.
Let me ask you something.
I don't like the fact that they're running a business that loses money. Like, I think you can make it make money. You're just missing a great opportunity to do it.
Hey, speaking of which, How do you feel about advertising like on the field and uniforms in college sports now?
I mean, it is where we are. I mean, it's a whole game. You're paying kids.
Wait, it's a what?
You're paying kids. You gotta pay bills, man. Like in the grand scheme of it, if you want to get the talent that's going to demand the highest dollar, you got to have revenue. So if you got to sell helmet space, if you got to sell jersey space, you got to sell it.
Is that a real game, Matt?
I'm unfamiliar with that term.
I'm gonna say, hey man, I'm waiting for a KB Building Services logo on them West Side unis any day now. Don't kid yourself. No, I know how you work, Benning. I know how you work, Benning. You're gonna be saying that. West Side will probably have a dome in 3 years. They'll be playing in the middle of winter.
The Warrior Dome.
There it is.
Oh,
that's coming. You know it. Don't lie. I know how you operate.
I'm just going back to the game. So
well, I mean, when you do this to the game, though, now you've created. You gotta generate revenue. Like, listen, he's an awesome coach. He was not, the government wasn't his thing, but you got to loosen up the purse strings and you got to start selling beer at that stadium because you're going to need that money because you won't dip into your foundation account. This is what it is now.
So do you think we would be ready? So could Bush offer Nebraska, hey, we'll take your end zones, right? Put the Nebraska behind it with the corn and our logo. And you think
Bush like George W?
No, like the beer, like Busch Light. You seen the corn on the cans?
Anheuser-Busch. Okay.
Could you those cans with the corn on them?
Yeah.
Could you see like is that
no?
No,
I don't. I don't think they're going to put it on the field. I don't think you would. And the alcohol part of it with the kids is going to be tough. You can't really do that because you're going to have some kids that are minors, and you can't put the beer logo on the minor.
Okay.
That's fair.
But I would say, here's the Bush drinking concourse.
Yeah, like at CHI, you got the
Bush level of boozing.
Yeah, what's the
like
club?
The Bud Light Lounge or whatever. Like you've got that area, the Budweiser. I don't know what it's called.
We're missing a huge opportunity.
Oh yeah.
Because I think if we got them to sponsor Haas and just had Haas go to every home game and sit there, because Haas won a bet. Listen. You could put Haas, Micus, Ogard, and Dish, and throw in Glazier, like get generational linemen, set them in the Busch Light patio that's kind of got like, not necessarily field level viewing, but above seat standing room viewing. 842 beers will be drank, and everybody will have a blast. Because Haas is good for 36 on his own. Let's not kid ourselves. You find Jeff Ogard? Ogard, there's another 48.
Hey, do you think he knew anybody? Do you think he knew anybody at that party that B&B that looked like an old schoolhouse where like the 120 kids got busted this week? It was like the St. Paul board. No, seriously, like there were 130 high schoolers.
I didn't see.
Like renting out an Airbnb.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it got.
I don't even know it. I didn't hear about that.
Oh well,
You probably shouldn't rent your Airbnb to a high schooler. That's all. I mean, that would be my first stop.
I think it was a school. It looked like an
old
Airbnb.
School. That Airbnb's got a lot of loopholes in it, and then folks in Gretna found out about that.
Oh no, you didn't.
Oh yeah, they did. They found out about that. That screening process on that isn't very good. There's a lot going on with that bad boy.
Wow.
Hey, I ain't saying it, but I'm just saying there's a lot going on there. And a girl that works for us, she bartends on Thursday night.
Yeah.
She lives across the street.
Wow.
Yeah, ring cam videos. It was and that's okay. Let's just look at it. Street smarts in Gretna. The S hits the fan. Everybody scrambles. They might catch one of us. They ain't catching all of us. St. Paul. Nah, we'll wait this out. We're gonna wait.
Dude, cars were driving into the ditches trying to get away from the sheriffs. Because it's dark.
In St. Paul?
Yeah, it's dark. Oh yeah,
Well,
it was
yeah.
all over the Maddie. It was huge. Like, did
I
you?
love the fact you give me credit for watching these.
Well, you got the TVs on. I thought something might have accidentally gotten those ears. You know.
Well, somebody has to ask to turn them on. I don't think he turned. Do you turn those on by choice? Because when I come in there, they're not on.
We were here before we opened.
That could be a factor.
You got to save a life on TV.
Well, you know.
They're always on when you're in there. Stop lying.
That's not true.
It's always changed them too. Can you change it to Middle Tennessee State playing? I'm like, ugh. You gotta tell me what channel it's on. And then my other favorite question, yeah, I'll change it. How much money you got on it? Like, none. I'm like, oh, you get that TV over there then.
The size of the
That is 100%. That's the first true thing that you've said in this segment. Like,
the size and location of your TV depends on your bet.
The USA won the Cricket World Championship. That was true. I said that.
Oh, and Hoskinson drinking 36 beers was probably true too.
See, I don't lie. You paint me in this corner that I lie. I tell the truth. But there was one night when I was in there, and I was like, the guy's like, hey, can you put this game on? I was like, you know what, bud? I was like, I got X amount on that game. I got X amount on that game. I got X amount on that game. I was like, is it okay if I put it over there on that TV? And he goes, I have, and he said the number of all my bets put together on that game.
Wait,
I was like, you got it, bud.
Who was
you're
this?
The main TV right here.
Who was this?
It's just a customer.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a customer.
And did you give him the
He's
remote?
Like, can you change it? Can you change it to this?
He
And
gave
I
him
was
the
like,
keys.
Yeah. I was like, I got money on. He added mine all together and exceeded it. He said, I got that on that guy. I was like, you get the main TV. You get sound. I was like, go get it.
In rare form, once again, Maddie.
That's the one and only Matt Vrzal. Verz, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Good boys.
Thanks, buddy.
That's Hurrdat Sports Radio for the week. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We will be back on Monday. We'll see you then.